I'm Mirella.
Hi, I'm Zoe.
Welcome to the Critical Obsession podcast.
Our final critical discussion for episode 12.
Is this how we call it? Critical Obsession podcast?
Yeah, that's our name. It's
Oh
alright.
my
This is only the 20th episode. I'm like, you're allowed to not know what it's called yet.
God. I'm keeping this in. This is
Yeah,
hilarious.
I would leave this. I mean, honestly, at this point, I feel like they've gotten to know us enough to know that this is happening. Um, so I had we have so many weird feelings about recording this particular podcast, and it's like, for me, it's got nothing to do with the episode. I loved the episode, but it's like, I think, like I said to Morella, it's like I feel like I'm in mourning slash I'm in shock slash I feel like anything I say is going to be inadequate to actually accurately describe how I feel about this whole series and this episode, and I don't really know where to start, and I feel like I'm afraid this is going to be extremely short.
I don't have much to say. I mostly have emotions. And such emotions, so intense. Like, I made myself sad several times this week. This weekend, like, I wrote to you, Zoe, being like,
Mhm.
why did I watch that?
Well, I
Crying.
mean, I had music cued to like play when we started this, that like I felt like accurately described how I felt, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna play it for Morella, and I did, and the cue was in the wrong place. So like she got what I was talking about, but it was totally in the wrong spot. I was like devastated. Anyway, I'm just like,
This whole episode felt like a fanfic to me. It gave us everything that we had been expecting. Well, what I have been expecting. It wrapped all the loose lines. But the big arcs ended in episode 11 for me, all back Kang's reconciling with his dad.
yeah.
But, it also gave me a scene that I have not been expecting, the last one, because I was like, la la la, woohoo, windmills, yay, I'm content and happy, everything is cute, and then bum. But if you think about it, it's also a loose line that maybe didn't exactly need to be addressed, but it does feel really good that they did.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And as I said to you before, I actually have quite a bit to say about the actual end scene. So I'm going to refer to it the extra end scene, because I feel like it ties up things that perhaps we didn't realize we needed tied
Yeah.
to nice little bows. I feel like some of those things maybe had some people still tied in knots a little bit, so now they're in bows. So I feel like that's better.
It was so hard to write notes, to start writing notes for this. Like, my heart hurts because I grew attached to the story, to the characters, to the people that I met through this project.
This
And
this
it's
is
our
like our
baby podcast. It's our
this is like
first.
our baby. This was like the first one, like we're always gonna love our firstborn just a little bit more than the rest of them. And unfortunately, before we saw this, like our yardstick was like, not unfortunately, I mean it's good, but like our yardstick for like what's good was like especially from GMM was like not me, and
Yeah.
now we won't be able we our now yardsticks are like not me. Dangerous romance. So I feel sorry for anything that's coming next, because we're gonna hold you up against this. We're gonna hold you up against this and be like, do you compare, yes or no? I mean, look, we'll try and be fair.
We'll
It's
try.
hard.
Mhm.
It's hard not to draw comparisons, but I feel like before we get too far into what we're about to do, there's a little bit of housekeeping I feel like we should address. So a couple of things. The first thing, our last podcast, episode 19, we missed a piece out, but we didn't realize. Our lovely Cass was like, "Did you guys talk about this?" So we've slotted that back in. So if you felt like you were missing a bit, it's there now if you want to listen to it again. Um,
Sorry, everyone.
hey, it's not on you. And then I love how you're laughing. Why are you laughing? No, anyway. Also, we you may have seen. You may have. I did we mention it? We did mention it. I'm sure we mentioned this already. That we are going to have a special podcast where we're going to have Kess of Kess the North Face from Tumblr is going to join us, and it's probably going to be absolute chaos, but I think it'll be fun.
If you have anything that you want to say to us, if you want something, want us to talk about something, you can send us an email, you can send us messages on Tumblr, on Twitter, and send a voice message on our Spotify, directly to our Spotify, and also specify if you want this to be included in the podcast or not.
I believe there's also the option on the actual podcast itself to like leave a question, or like I think there's like a set question. It's like, what did you think of this podcast? Just ignore that and just like put in what you'd like to say. We will know what you're talking about. And yeah, feel free to say, like, to ask us anything. You know, something, we didn't talk about, something you wanted us to talk about, something we did talk about and you've got a different opinion. We're super interested. We just want to interact with you guys. We've been having lots of fun on
Let us know that you exist.
yeah, that's right. But yeah, we have gotten some really lovely comments and stuff like that, and it's been really, really nice to get that feedback. Well, because we know Cass likes it, but we kind of feel like, we may have brainwashed her a little bit. She thinks she adopted us, where clearly it was the other way around. But anyway, so we are loving these lovely messages from you guys, but we'd really love to hear your thoughts about the show and stuff as well. And like, don't be afraid, we don't bite. I mean, unless you want us to. You ask really nicely, maybe. But yeah, we just want to have some fun, So I know sometimes I'm a little bit aggressive when I'm like feel strong about something, but I promise I'm really nice. So Cass has done a really amazing post. Actually, she's done several amazing posts, let's be honest. But she's done a really amazing post letting you guys know when and where and how, what's happening with this podcast that we're doing. And she has very kindly offered to offer you guys a free fic if you submit a question for the podcast. So you should check that out, because she's just like destroying Morella and I with her like little fics. It's like jealous, in love, basically all of the above. So
I hate that I won't be able to see it filmed, everything that she wrote.
yeah.
Same time. The way she describes it so vividly and so well, it's enough. Like,
yeah. And that's how you know it's good fanfic, when you can imagine it happening.
yes.
So I go, okay. What else was I gonna say? Yeah, I guess we're starting now. My notes are a bit all over the place, so I may jump back and forth. I mean, who am I kidding? I do that every time anyway. Wherever my brain takes me is where we end up.
I don't even know what, like, I have some weird observations. They're not even critical, it's just me being, ha 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 ha. Look at this, look what happened. For example, Grandma Salom says Grandma told him that Kang likes apples, and that's why he brought him apples. So either Salom went to ask Grandma what to bring to Kang, and she happily provided him with this information. Either she started doing that thing that parents do when they get a hold of someone that loves their child and start exposing them in every way possible, being like, here's the Kang manual. Use it well.
I love that. Here's the Kang manual. I fucking love that. That's amazing. Yes. The other thing is I feel like Salome is like best boy in some ways. So he probably went to go and see grandma slash, to see Kang's dad as well. Now that he knows that like he doesn't have to feel guilty or whatever.
Of course he did.
Yeah, he probably just checked in on her because, it's big, it'd be big, like her son is in hospital, he's been shot and almost like suffocated, and now her grandson is also in hospital, he was shot. So I can imagine him going to see her and being like, "Oh, are you okay? Is there anything I can do for you?" And she's like, "Well, Kang really likes apples." And he's like,
You go
"I'm on
take
it,
care of Kang.
grandma, I'm on it. I will get that boy a basket of apples."
She's like, I'll be here with my son. You don't take
Yeah,
care of
yeah.
Kang. Like, so funny for her. She trusts Salom to do that for
Oh,
her.
for sure. Yeah. She's like, or like he bought grandma a basket of apples, and grandma's like, "You know who likes apples? Your boyfriend."
Your
But
windmill.
yeah, right. Oh yeah, so in the hospital when Kang like basically in the cutest way ever bullies Salom into peeling him some apples, and Salome is like heading off towards the apples, and that Kang did the "I love you" symbol. Did you notice that with his hand? I was just like, he's just so extra all the time.
Kang and his dramatic ass pranking Salom. I think he actually likes Salom calling him jackass. I did not have time to do that, but I wish I went through the whole series to check how many times, in what circumstances, Salom calls Kang jackass, because it might be like a loving thing.
Oh,
Oh, you jackass.
it definitely sounds like an endearment and not an insult when he says it. That's for sure.
Yeah, and Kang loves having Salom's full attention on himself, loves being extra dramatic, of course, and asking for care. The funny thing is that Salom also loves providing this to Kang and ask him to peel the apples. He likes being bad. And he did that in episode 4 as well at the end. Do you remember when it was about the drink at that point and he was asking Salom to help him drink that oishi, or what was it?
Mm.
But this time he was making it weird. Like when when Salom took that piece of the apple and was because Kang cannot move, of course. His
Yeah.
hands do not work well. He can do it by himself.
And he got
And
shot
so
in one
when,
shoulder and now is
yes,
completely
yes,
paralyzed from the waist up.
yes. And so Salom took that apple with fork and did it to Kang's mouth, and he opened his mouth looking at Salom's eyes and then at his lips longingly, so much that Salom snaps at him with, "Do you want it or not?"
Yeah, the answer is yes.
Yes.
Kang's like, "I want all of it. The apples, whatever else is going on here right in front of me."
And I
Yeah.
mean, Pinfa did not see much, but maybe she actually sensed Kang's intentions here because they were there.
I feel like as well she came in there looking at this scene like we were, where she was just like, "Whoa," and of course the guys are just like, "What's going on?"
I just, I loved how ultimately all of the friends were together. The group was formed, they bonded because they are part of different worlds in the beginning.
Mm.
And now they're so close to each other. And even Punfa was on her own
Yeah,
in the beginning. Like she did not connect with anyone from the group but
yeah,
Kang, but
but
not so
Kang.
much because she had this hidden opinion. Like she did not really like where he was going, and she was trying to do
Mm.
stuff behind his back. And
Mm.
so I also thought of how Navas' dad is a lawyer, right?
Yeah,
And so Navas said that his dad called him to tell him that Name confessed, which probably means that either Nava asked his dad to look into the case, or he was very interested about it and kept asking his dad for updates. Maybe he kind of presented himself as Salom's friend, and that's why his dad actually called him, because that's quite an interesting thing. His calling him.
I actually did have a theory about this because it seemed weird to me that off his own back, like I do believe that Nava, like they all, as you said, care about each other here. I mean, the friends were interacting even when they weren't like interacting properly and stuff like that. But I feel like Nava was extremely distracted by Guy, by what was going on with Guy. It feels weird to me that he would, off his own back, inquire about what's going on to his father unless prompted by somebody else. So my theory is either Kang asked him to look into it, which would be interesting because we know Kang's mixed feelings about the whole thing, or Guy asked Nava to look into it, get his dad to look into it. But either way, like, I feel like Guy would have been pretty distracted as well. So I don't know.
No,
I'm like,
I think Guy is quite an attentive guy. Like, remember in the
Guy's
scene in the
quite
car?
attentive guy.
Yes, he is.
Put it on a t-shirt.
No voice, quite attentive. Okay, so in the car when the boys were distracted by the girls being gay for each other, Otto asked something like, when did they start being so close to each other? And Navas said, I think it was during that game or something. I
Mm.
mean, he was on to provide the answer. He notices stuff. So
Oh,
I would not be surprised if it was his own initiative.
it might have been, but I do feel like it poses the question. It could have come from him or Guy or Kang, essentially.
We'll never know, but I
No.
like the fact that they're so involved and they care and they're there to present the news, and
Yeah. And of
they're
course
also there.
the thing is though as well is that also the one part that we might be just missing is that Nava's father may also just realize the connection between what's like happening obviously and the fact that it's his friend's father who was shot, and so he's just telling him like the latest about the case because he knows that Nava is Kang's friend.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? I mean that's not as fun, but it could also it could also just have been that.
Maybe. And
You're
then
like,
we
I
have
hate you.
no, everything is possible, but I thought this moment was interesting, and so
I do think it's interesting, and the fact that like Navo obviously was like he's like parroting it like word for word. Essentially, we're getting the narration for it, so he was invested, he was interested. So it's probably more that it came from him in some way or form.
and then we get the flashbacks where we see the situation from Saifa's point of view. As we were talking in another podcast, and also I made a post about it, Saifa has been framed by the story. We were led to judge and doubt him, and then we were forced to face our own prejudice, just as Kang's dad. And I love that the show did this. And I feel like many people are missing this, and
Mm.
they are missing the significance of this thing that they did with Saifa's character and how interesting it is.
Well, it is too because we got to see in this episode like how soft he really is and how similar to Salom he really is. It's interesting. It's an interesting introspective because we had we had that moment where we realized that Kang is like really similar to his father. Like they have the same things that are not maybe not so great about them. They obviously also share things that are fun and they like their love of football and all the rest of it. But like the hot-headed, kind of jumping to react, that sort of thing, that's not a great thing. And Selom and Safai have that, deep
Moral
seated
integrity.
integrity,
Yeah.
which like you know, on Safai's part is maybe not as black and white as Salom's is,
Not
but
as rigid. Yeah.
yeah, but Salom had more of an opportunity to be able to be like that, whereas Safai had to provide for him and he didn't have that luxury. So and also I feel like as well he's older, he's seen more of the
He's
world.
just different.
Mm.
He has a different personality. He's softer than Salom in a way.
I think so too. Yeah,
But
I
at
think
the same time, like from Salom's part of view, maybe Salom perceived his softness as a weakness, while Saifa's softness somehow is his strength.
yeah, I agree with that.
You know what I was thinking? I was
What?
watching that scene of the crime going down, or everything happening in the house, and then
Hmm.
Name getting involved. I think the boss only humored Name here in order to calm him down and keep him by his side, but he intended to corrupt him. He noticed that Saifa is important to him, and he only accepted it to keep him alive in order to take control of the situation. Name would have betrayed him if he shot Saifa right then and there. He accepted the condition, but later he tried to kill Siloam because he was Name's anchor now, an embodiment of his hope, keeping him on the moral high ground. I think he would have had Saifa accidentally, in quotes, killed in prison later as well. And then, Name would have just been his forever. Like he would have no reason to try to leave his side anymore and change.
Mm.
He'd lose his hope.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny. I definitely agree with that, but I also think it's probably there's a little bit he had like I don't know whether the boss guy would have had that much forethought in that exact moment, but I definitely think that that would have been his considerations post that event. And the reason why I think maybe not in that exact moment is because like literally he was going to shoot him, and then the cops are there, and then like if you shoot a gun off again, you know what I mean? Like it opens its own can of worms. So I think he took the easy way out there by letting Name sort of steer that. But I also do think what you're saying is true. I do think that he saw the dangers there and was going to eradicate.
This is how he took control of the situation
Yeah.
at that particular moment.
And what I realized as well in this is that Name is actually so similar to both Salom and Safai as well, and not just because of their circumstances, but he has that same like soft kindness to him that really should have been beaten out of him at this point, potentially beaten out of all of them at this point because of their circumstances and what they've been through, and yet he was still kept that sweetness and everything, and didn't that glory didn't seem to go from him until after he killed the boss. And I love that it was Safai that gave it back to him. But just like I feel like there was this kind of like parallel between them all, and he had some moral integrity. Like he was trying anyway, you know what I mean? Like he was trying to maintain that there was lines that he wouldn't cross, like even though he was in this position, even though that he was essentially one of the bad guys or whatever, he was going to not cross this line. And he also was trying to protect those that he cares about as best he could. So we get that moment like in the actual event, but also beforehand when he says to him, like, can you not be there? And also, the way he followed up and tried to protect Salom, and ultimately did protect Salom.
He did.
So, and I'm like, yeah, that initial scene where, as I said, Safia's coming out and Name is going in, and they share this look. It's so funny because every week, every episode after every episode, there's a handful of like reactors that I have on rotation, and I don't watch every reaction by every reactor, but I watch like maybe one or two, especially if I'm conflicted about like stuff that I'm seeing online that's like frustrating me, or you know I'm fairly
Mm-hmm.
confident when we have our conversations. Like very very rarely do we come back later on and go, well, actually we've changed our mind about something. Like we pretty much believe in what we're
Consistent.
saying. Yeah, I feel like we're consistent in that way. But I don't so I'm not watching them to get like confirmation of how I feel or whatever, because what I feel is what I feel. I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean, it's funny to me that we were pretty right most of the way through. At one point I was like, this would be really funny podcast if like we get to the end and you and I are so far off the map it's not funny, but we weren't, so that was
I
great.
mean, it might happen in the future.
It could happen. I mean, like, just because we got this one doesn't mean we're going to get all of them. So and also like we part of this whole thing is that we're obsessed. So like we are so focused on it as well, which is good because it means we can be critical and all the rest of it, but it also could be bad, in an instance in the future where we're so focused maybe on one thing that we miss like something else, which might actually just be the
Mm-hmm.
point of the whole
Mm-hmm.
thing. But yeah, I don't think so. I feel like we balance each other well. So and the more I guess our listeners interact with us, the more we have that opportunity as well. If they think that we're we're going too far off one way, they might like point us in the right direction, which is always fun.
It doesn't mean we'll go into that direction,
No,
but
that's right. We're pretty willful. We're just gonna do whatever we want, but
no one can control us.
it'll be interesting to discuss. Like, I like to discuss and listen to other people's point of views. So
Me
one
too.
of the reasons why I've been, is why I watch the reactions, because, as I said, it's someone else having an opinion like we are. It's a good opportunity as well for me to like watch the scene too again, like while they're talking
Mhm.
or whatever. And almost every single person I watched this week, when they saw that scene, they were like, "Oh yes, you deserve it," and they were like so like mean to Name, and I was like, "What's wrong with all of you
Really?
people?"
Really?
Yeah, I was so surprised. They're like, "Yeah, you deserve to be in there," and I'm just like, well, I mean, he did kill someone, but like in defense of someone else. And yes, he did, he was part of it. Like, I hated how he was like painted as the ringleader. I mean, he clearly wasn't the ringleader. I think someone said it was his idea. I mean, it clearly wasn't his idea either. It was the condition that was given to him by his boss. So it was his boss's idea. But it was just like, this look between them, even before we got that scene later on, this look to me was just like so full of like fear and confusion and longing and guilt and yearning, and it was like, it was such so much stuff into such a little brief moment. And I also love the way it was filmed, like the way they blocked and
Oh,
filmed
yes,
it,
yes, yes.
because it was like, it reminded me of like a scene that you would, if they were smiling at each other, and it was a fancy ballroom, and it was set, back or something. I'm thinking, like Emma, or like one of those sorts of things where they're doing the dance where they walk around each other but they're not actually touching each other. It gave me that kind of like filming thing, like they were doing a dance sort of, um which was just a really weird kind of, what's the like, imagery, considering like they technically have been kind of doing a dance, if you want to like, get into the relationship side of things. But also like this idea of them like being in step with each other, but then being like so out of step with each other as well. Like, I kind of liked the imagery and the parallels between that. I'm sure that's not what they were trying to do with that scene, it's just that's what it reminded me of.
Now that you said all this, it reminded me of a scene from A Walk to Remember. Like there's a scene when I think the main character does something stupid. Like they got to be friends, they got closer, they were practicing and everything, and then he does something stupid, and they kind of she gets mad at him, and they go separate directions. And there's a scene when they walk past each other in the hallway, and like the slow motion is there. They don't look at each other. I don't think they look at each other the way they do here, but you can feel that this is so wrong. This is not how it's supposed to be. This is not the conditions. The circumstances are all wrong. This is not how it should be, you know?
Mm. Yeah, this idea, I
Very
think I know what you're
interesting.
talking about, this whole idea. And once again, as I said, it's like they were out of step with each other. They had been in this
Exactly.
like vibe, this flow together. They fit, they work, and then suddenly they're like broken puzzle pieces kind of. But
Yes,
yes.
you know, when Kang and Salom hear the whole story, they first look at each other and, oh my God, Grandma is there.
Oh my god, I
Grandma, I
love
need to
Grandma.
speak about Grandma.
I love Grandma in this scene. Like, literally, when I watched it, I was just like, I love you, Grandma. And then I rewatched this episode with my mom the other night. Oh no, Saturday, I think it was, during the day. And I was like, I'm like, look at her. And Mom's like, yeah, we love Grandma, because Grandma was so excited. She was so excited.
The joy I experience every time she appears on screen is indescribable. I'm so happy that they kept her character good because
Yeah.
from my understanding, she is not as perfect in the books because she's basically the voice of reason in the series.
Yeah.
Everything she says feels like, you know, this like absolute truth. This is
Yeah.
what she says. She's the only trustworthy and normally functioning adult in this series.
Yeah.
And
Literally,
I feel
one of my reactors that I watched said, Grandma is the only one we can trust. She's the only one who tells it like it is and has no bullshit.
I feel like this is intentional because so often in a series about teens, adults are represented as these weird creatures that live by completely different rules and they function on different wavelengths and they kind of end up disappointing and disillusioning the teens. but she always is someone who you can look up to for direction. I feel like
Mm,
she's the narrator's avatar in this series.
yeah. I
Yeah.
love that, and I love that she is like I love how, Kang is so tortured at the beginning of this show with his like father's lack of expectation and care and interest. And yet we know he has grandma, and we know that
Mhm.
he's had these deep conversations with grandma, because grandma knows that her son is disappointing his son, and she probably maybe feels it's not her place. Maybe she doesn't know how to fix it. She's clearly trying. We see her try with her son to try and get him to like snap out of his BS and like do the right thing. And so we know that she is there for Kang. We know that she gives Kang love and everything, but
But she's
that's
also not controlling. She's kind of letting them make their own mistakes. She's there to provide input, but she's not there to control them, as so often sometimes, older characters are represented. Like, you must do what I say.
yeah.
My
I
word is my rule. She's not like that.
No, she's not. And I feel like there's this I'm not quite sure how I want to put it, but like she exactly what you're saying, but and also she's not his mother. She's not trying to be his mother. She's his grandmother, and she sticks to that role very, very like very quite well. And the issue, unfortunately, with that is that when he looks at her, he sees her initially, like as much as he loves her or whatever else, he sees her as his grandmother and as his father's mother. So she's not his person. She can't be his person. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like for her to be his person, she would like her son would have had to have done something epically horrible, like, that was unforgivable to her, that, she would choose um Kang over him and like all this sort of stuff. And I'm not saying that she needed to do that or anything, I'm just saying like from his perspective, that's her son. So I feel like that's part of the reason why he feels so alone. Yet he has this marvelous grandmother. Like, it's, in the beginning I was kind of like, why are you being such a dick? Like, you have grandma. Like, I would love grandma. Give me grandma. But I get that it's not, you know what I mean? Until he sort of, we see him start to, realize that Salom is his person, that is part of what the problem was. For as much as, she was there for him. And as you said, she also has no, she wants him to do well, but she has no expectations on either of them either. Like, as you said, she's not forcing them to do things the way she thinks they should be done. She's trying to guide them and like help them, but she's not, you know. So, and in that way,
Controlling.
that's, yeah, she's not controlling, and but in that way, that can also kind of feel like a lack as well for somebody who needs, like Kane probably would have like benefited from her being a bit more stricter and maybe a bit like, more controlling with her son to get them to, get their shit together. It may not have worked given their personalities, and it may have made Kang rebel even more. But it also, like, he may have felt that interest because that's what he was lacking from the father. So, but in terms of grandma, she can, as far as I'm concerned, she can do no wrong. So I loved how excited she was in this scene. It was like brilliant. Because the others
I
were
love
all like super serious, because they just like had all this like realization, like they were, Salon was happy and everything, but the others are all like, if you look at their faces and that, they're all pretty serious. And and they're talking about shooting and like whatever else, and their grandma's like, hey, yay, like her face was just like, oh my god, she lights up a room.
Do you want to talk about the scene in the hospital? I have nothing to say about it.
I don't have
I
anything to
just,
say about
I
it
just,
really either.
I just want to say that every time I watch the scene where Salom meets Saifa when he's let out of the prison, I cry.
Do you really?
Yeah,
I can't remember if I cried when I watched it or not. I think I did actually, but I haven't cried since.
I
There's only
can't.
there's only like one scene in this episode that makes me cry, and it's made me cry pretty much every time I watched it, except for tonight when I did a
It
quick
gets
rewatch.
worse for me. It just gets worse. If I the first time I watch like I'm shocked. I can basically feel anything, and then when I start rewatching, it hits me too hard, and
Mm.
I'm unable to go through a scene without like just spiraling, and almost every scene gets me just bawling. Can't stand it. And then Kang, we have the scene of Salom getting back to school, and if you think about it, Kang's gesture to hang that thing with the welcome Salom is not that surprising. The
Of
whole
course not.
school knows.
It's so extra of him.
But not only that, the whole school knows about the situation. The school has been bad mouthing Siloam. The school saw them get close, and that they saw Kang pull back when Saifa was arrested. So this gesture means him declaring his love and
That
position in this
everything
situation
is okay.
very
That's right.
loud. Yes. And also it's a big "don't fuck with my boyfriend" sign.
Oh, of course it is. Yeah, he's definitely saying everything is fine with us. You all need to shut the fuck up, basically, with this.
Exactly.
Um,
This is not as much about for Siloam. This is for everyone else.
mm. Yeah, this is just one more way of him taking care of Selom, and the fact that Selom doesn't actually realize that that's what's going on. He just thinks he's like being messed with, or like that Kang's being super embarrassing and like obvious or whatever. He's just like dying. But honestly, I'm surprised that the sign didn't say "Welcome back, my boyfriend Selom, our top
Yeah, yeah,
scholarship
yeah, yeah,
student."
yeah. Me too.
And I
I mean, everyone knew. Everyone read that. I think like
I am
everyone knew
about
already.
to. I don't know if you can access. Can you access Telegram like while we're talking?
Yeah.
Because I need to. I'm going to send you something.
Okay.
Because I don't know if you actually got a really good look at this, but I feel like you need to have the same view of it that I had. Hang on a sec. Oh my god, why is this not working? Technical difficulties. I'm going to post this picture on our Tumblr, by the way, that I'm about to show Morales, so you'll understand why it's so funny. All right, I'll just put it in our chat, you and I. Um, okay.
Welcome back.
But look at the
Look at the
face. Look at the
smile.
picture. Look at
The
the picture he
smile.
chose.
Who
Like
did get that picture?
this is the best thing I've ever seen. That is my question. How on earth did he get this picture? Like, because I feel like that's not an official school photo picture. That's like,
Uh-huh.
someone made a joke and he laughed and like, did Kang like take a secret snap of it? Like, I'm like, what's going on here? But just the picture that was chosen was absolutely hilarious to me, and I felt like I needed to zoom in and like just in case you missed it, because I don't know,
No.
it's up so quickly. I don't know how many people actually got a good look at the picture, but it just happened to be that like when I was watching one of the reactions, they paused it at that bit, and I was just like, oh my god, what is that photo? And I was just like, okay, yes, I must remember to screenshot this and put it up later. And the other thing is, I hadn't seen it online. Like, I hadn't seen anyone talking about how like adorably hilarious this picture is.
And then we have. It's funny how we have Salom and Kang in scenes where they look like they're separated by bars, but it actually happens to Saifa and Name.
Mm.
And it's also interesting how Name's imprisonment actually brings him freedom finally.
Yeah, that's right. He's no longer under the boss's thumb. He's no longer part of the gang. This is where I cry almost every time. As I didn't cry tonight when I watched
You
it, but
do?
then yeah, I do. Like I the bit.
Why?
I'll tell you why. I
Tell
like.
me why.
Did I sound really
Tell me
defensive there?
why.
I sounded so defensive. So okay. So when we recorded the reaction on Friday night, we're watching this front bit. I know she said a lot of it feels a lot like fan fiction, kind of, in that we got, in the best way possible, we got
Yes.
all of these like a bonus, like happy Selom and Kang, they're back at school. Kang pinned him again. They're running around, they're giggling, they're chasing, and then we get this scene where the beginning of I didn't had no idea how invested I was in this pairing, by the way. I should have known. I was starting a slow. I think I made some comment about them when they were doing the car washing scene, where I was just like, oh my god, I'm going to ship them so hard. And then I think I said something like, oh, it's all over. Like, I was convinced Name was going to die because I was like invested at that point. I had no idea how invested I was. So we get this scene on Friday. All the other scenes beforehand, except, I mean, obviously not the shooting scene in that, but and not the scene where Sapphire is like bowing to Kang's father, but like all the other stuff is all like tra la 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 la, happy, happy, happy. And then this scene started, and I don't know, I was already feeling emotional, and then we got the bit with the fingers, and that was it. I was gone. When we started recording the reaction for part one, I was sobbing. I had ugly girl crying, tears down my face, maybe a little bit of boogers, I don't know, but it was not pretty, which is why it's really good that this is a podcast. But I don't know if anyone noticed I sounded weird. I sounded weird because I was literally like I was choking on tears. So with this scene, like, it broke me. And it was really weird because the only other scene that I kind of had this reaction to was the escort scene, I think, and also when Kang lets go of Salom. I think, I don't know. I'd have to try and read my notes because I can't remember. But look, when this scene begins, like, Name is so broken, and like he's given up. He is like, I would have been concerned. I feel like maybe Sapphire, like, you know, he may Name may have saved Salom, but I feel like Sapphire maybe saved Name in this bit by actually coming to see
Yeah, I
him.
agree. I agree.
I really feel that he like saved his life a little bit here.
He was
Yeah,
lifeless, and then after talking to Seifa, he suddenly
yeah. He lit
had
up
a goal.
inside.
He had a future to look up to.
That's right. He had a
Look
goal. Yeah. And so I feel like Sapphire stopped him from punishing
forward.
himself and from this depression that was building up. And I also feel like this conversation, while I was watching it the first time, and even today as well, I was thinking about it more so, but I definitely was thinking about it on Friday when we were doing the reaction, was that this moment here also gives Sapphire a goal too. Like, he has been, I guess, aimless a little bit in this show. Like, his main thing, obviously, which we see, is to get Salom graduated and into university and things like that. But beyond that,
I had the same thought.
he has no goals for himself. Right? So he has this goal now to be better, to provide a stable home for when Name comes out later, for them to be able to afford to do this trip in a legal, happy, healthy way. And like, there's all these things, and I was just like, oh. And then we got the comment where he was just like, oh, why do we have all these promises? Oh, because we're best buds. And I was just like, I yelled at my television, as you do. I was heckling. I'm like going, are you kidding me right now with this best bros bullshit? And
They're
then
putting it on pause, okay? They're not just they just want to wait until he gets out of prison to not make it complicated.
but like the looks, like their looks, they reminded me of Kang and Salom, and these looks that we have that, kind of like should be awkward but really weren't. Like, they were just, there was so much meaning, there was so much like yearning and just like comfort as well at the same time in the looks that they're giving each other, and reassurance. Like, there's just so much, like, yeah, I just was
You know,
lost.
everyone in this series is a wind and a windmill. Everyone, every pairing, every single one of them. Salom and Kang, obviously, but also Nawa and Guy, also Binfa and Nabdao, also Saifa and Name, and also even Max and Otto.
Mm.
In their friendship way, everyone is a wind and a windmill. And also, Salom and Kang are winds to everyone else being the windmill because they start this whole thing moving. They change everyone.
Look
His
at
throat
you.
is sorry.
I said, look at you coming with the big realizations. But yes, you are very much correct. And I was just like, I was fairly already upset, but I was like, okay. I was like, wow, this is really hard. I feel so bad, blah, blah, blah. But it's kind of positive. And then Sapphire put his fingers in the mesh, and then they were like, the only way to explain it, and it sounds really weird, I'm aware of the fact that it's going to sound really weird, is it was like they were embracing with their fingertips. But it was so like, I don't know, I just lost it. I lost my mind. I was bawling. I was sobbing. And as I said, every time I've watched it, and like when I watched it with my mom on Saturday, and that bit happened, yeah, ugly sobbing. My mom's like, "Are you crying right now?" I'm just like, "No, don't look at me."
If
Um,
you watch it again right now, will you cry?
well, I didn't cry tonight when I watched it, so I don't know. Maybe I'm really tired, so that could be right. But I was also
Need
wanting
some
to be,
water.
yeah.
You need to
I'm,
stay
it's
hydrated.
it was hot today too, so yeah, I could be dehydrated. But it was like I'm just, yeah, their acting in this scene was amazing. The way they just like hold on to each other and just like the look and just I felt so devastated because there's hope in this scene, but there's also like it's gonna be a really long time coming. And it's gonna be really, really hard. And I know there's been some like whisperings about like an Owl Sky episode for Dangerous Romance. And as long as they don't do anything weird, like switch their bodies or do something like, I'm still bitter about that for Ofcom. But like as long as they don't do anything weird and they just do like um a continuation or something, I would totally be down for it. I've heard rumblings about like their university life. I want it to be post university life, so we have the opportunity of like Name being out of prison, because I want that for them. I want a little cameo where they're like, sending postcards or like phoning from France or something. I don't know.
I'm a bit concerned because I think this series ended perfectly. I do have faith in the creators. If the same people who wrote this also and directed and filmed and everything also are going to handle if this is going to happen,
Mm.
even the our Sky thing, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch. Of course, I'm going to
Yeah,
watch it.
you're going to watch it. I'm
But
going to make you watch it.
yes,
And then we're going
and
to talk about it afterwards.
And also, if they thought about that story while they were still working on this is even better because it means it's not just an addition, it's a continuation.
Yeah.
So
I
I don't know.
Yeah, I personally would prefer it not to be an Our Sky episode, just because I feel like those aren't really. I've yet to see one I really, really liked. I did like the Off Gun one, except I didn't like the way they ended it. It was weird. Um, it's like it was fine until they were like super old or whatever happened. I can't remember, but all the other ones were all a little bit
They
weird.
were the
Or
they were the funny guys back then. Funny
yeah.
pairing.
Well, I mean, they still are. They still like to do comedy, so that's why. It was really interesting to see them play each other's characters. Like, I did like that aspect of it, but most of the ones from I think the first series were a little odd. I can't remember. I did think I did watch most of them, but I don't remember them. And then
But
I
I
watched
haven't.
some of the ones from the second season, and I thought they didn't have that same weirdness to them, I didn't think, but at the same time I felt most of the storylines were fairly redundant and like weren't really they didn't add anything. There was no add value to me. So I feel like it's a bit like
They
I
should
I
take one of Cass's fix and just transform it into
yeah,
put them all together and transform them into
yeah, that could be
our
the Our
Sky
Sky
episode.
episode. Yeah, it sounds like a plan. But as you said, if it's them doing it, if it's they've already sort of come up with an idea and it's already been factored into how it ended and all the rest of it, then I'm sure it will be great. But I personally would prefer, over an Our Sky episode, I would actually prefer like a special episode.
I
That once
actually
again was also done by, created and directed and written and everything by the people who are working on this, because I feel like the same thing. They know the story, they know the characters, they know their motivations, they know what
What
they
our
would
is
and
our
wouldn't
Sky
do.
written? Is our Sky written by someone else and created by someone else, not by the people who are handling
I
the original project?
honestly, I don't actually know. Like, I'm not really sure if they're different directors or it's the same. I have no idea.
If it's different, I don't want it.
I feel like it would be the same. So I would like to see more from them. So that's why I liked the idea of it happening further down the track rather than just like the following year or something like that. But you know what? If they do it well, then I feel like I would like to see more of them, especially if it's cute. Um, because they've shown that they can show us like some scenes without drama, without the need for drama, and it still be interesting.
Yeah, then we have the football game. I love it how when Guy gets hit and falls down, Max quickly looks at Salome, then he starts screaming and he stands up intending to go fight for him or something. They already care about each other so much, and I also find it hilarious how Salome grabs him and pulls him down because he is in control of the whole group now.
Mm.
And Kong also asking Guy if he's okay. I just love their friendship. I love their friendship. I love the fact that they inserted several scenes of them all of them being together. Because usually I'd be like, oh my god, let's get going. I want to see the main characters interact and everything. But even these scenes work so well. They're so fun to watch, and I'm just amazed at how they were able to pull this off
Yeah, they managed to get us invested in all of the
in
pairings, like,
everything. Yes.
yeah, like in all of their relationships. And they all had purpose. I mean, later on when Kang does his speech at graduation, it's really nice the fact that he first off acknowledges his privilege, but also that he kind of like thanks all of them for everything. And it's because they all really helped him in their own way. From Otto and Guy, he got like friendship. From Otto, he also got like this idea of responsibility and compassion. I'm not saying he didn't have these things before. I really do think he was like Kang best boy when he was younger. I feel like he got reminded of these things, and
Hmm.
what it felt like to have these feelings for someone else. From Guy, he got sportsmanship and discipline. From Pimfar, he got friendship and support along with commitment. From Salam, he got all of these and more. Like he got dedication and love and support and warmth and just like all of the all of the stuff that he got from everyone else, he also got from Salom. And as you said, like Salom became like essentially the leader of the group because before he was the leader of his group anyway. And then before the leader of Max and Nava was Kang very clearly, but now Kang looks to Salom. So they're following his lead.
Hmm.
So I do love that as well.
I think the discussion between Kang and his dad is lovely. Like him asking Kang if he wants to pursue a major in football, and it's the first time he asks him if he wants to set a goal with a clear intention of supporting him.
Mm.
He saw him play and he finally believes in him, and Salom told him, Kang's dad, that Kang is considering administration. Look how Salom is just talking to he controls everything.
I just
He
feel
controls
like
everyone.
I feel like in this scene, what we're given, it's funny because I like have like zero notes about this, but I obviously have opinions. But I feel like in this scene, what we're given is that this idea, and I think I spoke about this once again in the reaction in regards to the scene in the hospital where a lot of people didn't get the conversation from his father that they wanted, and I think I said, well, part of it was he just came out of a coma, and the other part was like they
A lot of
are.
the people, you meant me, Zoe. You meant
No,
me.
there were other people as well besides you. but but what I'm saying is I feel like even at this point here, before we get the conversation, what we're seeing from Max asking Salom about Kang's dad coming, and Kang and Salom being like, I'm not really sure, and everything else is that, and by having this confirmation, I guess, that Salom is still holding their hands basically in this like transition to their relationship by being the kind of intermediary of,
Yeah.
you know, piggy in the middle, let's call it, because
Mhm.
they are not quite there yet. It's like early days, tender footed steps towards each other.
Very
Like,
delicate. Very
yes.
delicate
Yeah. So the
and
conversation
sensitive.
they then have here is very significant. But leading up to this, they just weren't there yet. So for them to have some big thing in the hospital like that, I feel like I would. It's so funny to me because a lot of people would have really enjoyed that and that's what they were wanting, but I actually probably would have felt very kind of a bit like hinky about it because
You
it's a
know,
weird
I did
word,
not
hinky.
mean, I was not expecting that. What I was That's not what I meant when I did the reaction. I was just expecting him to act a little differently,
Mm.
like ask why are you dressed like this, like have a bit of concern maybe.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
But
as I said,
you know,
I put all that down to like grandma probably explaining the situation, and also like him just being drugged out of his gourd. Like that was just kind of, but as I said,
well,
that's just
you decided that to explain the situation to yourself. I would have wanted
you're like,
I
you're
wanted
living
to
in your
see.
happy delusions. Let me live in mine.
Well, there's space for him to improve. I mean, I love this scene. I love what they did in this scene. So
Yeah. Well, this is us seeing that. You know what I mean? Whereas I wouldn't have bought it so much in an earlier scene. Like I felt like I
because
was more comfortable with this.
I think it's okay to criticize him, and because he's not, even though now he's getting better, even though like we know his reasons, that doesn't mean that those all those years are erased and that he was not a crappy dad.
Yeah.
He was a crappy dad.
Well, that's right. And so that's why I feel like it's going to take them a while. And because they're so similar.
Also, Kang was a bully. You can't just erase that.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what his reasons were, what was happening to him. He was a bully.
Mm.
He changed, and that's good. And I love it. I love him now. I love, like, that doesn't mean that now that I watch the series, like the way he acted in the first episodes, now I excuse him and I'm like, oh, no, that's okay because he's hurt. Mm-mm. No,
It's
this is not how my mind works anyway.
it's funny because I remember when we were like we were like having a major hate boner for Kang's dad, and I saw that post on Tumblr. Do you remember where it was like this girl had written something like, "This girl at school keeps bullying me," and my
Hmm.
mum, who's like her mum was like a lawyer or something, said that the
Hmm.
girl's parents were getting a divorce and neither of them wanted their child. So her mum was
Hmm.
basically saying to her, like, there's shit going on there, basically, essentially. Um,
Yeah, but that doesn't.
no,
I don't think that justifies you hurting
but it,
other
it
people.
doesn't anyway because that means nothing.
It gets you. You can understand what's going on, but still judge, and like it doesn't. It doesn't make it okay. The fact
No,
that you're hurting other people.
that's right. No, of course not. And it didn't excuse. She wasn't. I don't feel like the purpose was excusing. I think it was just like I think the person who posted was like, I thought my day was shit, kind of thing. Like, at least my family loved me. Like, but it's not. It doesn't excuse it at all because the victim is still being hurt, and most times they would have no idea why. Like they would not have that insight into like what's going on with this person, just like the people that Kane bullied would not know that he was having whatever was his issues were. All they were going to see is
Mhm.
this privileged kid who's a dick. They don't have that insight. They don't care. But I do think like when he apologizes during his speech at the end, it's important to a lot of people because that means a lot.
Yeah, he acknowledges the fact that he was crappy and that he wants to be better, and it's amazing.
Mm,
It's amazing. It's the best. It's the best possible scenario.
it is, yeah. So you were talking about the scene with the father and everything. And yeah, I loved this scene. It was funny because when we first saw this scene, I took it a little bit as an acknowledgement that dad also, like, I've been team grandma knows from like day whatever.
Mhm.
And in
Yeah,
this scene as well, I was like, oh, dad knows too. I mean, I feel like dad would
yeah,
be
yeah,
an
yeah,
absolute idiot. Like, Salom is way too invested in their family. And also, like, it's clear that he cares about him. So, like, I feel like he must know that Salom, is into his son. But, like, his son is so
yeah.
different. Like, this is just, yeah. I feel like him being Kang being like, oh, and I want to go get into the same university as Salom. He's just like, yeah, okay. But I loved in this scene as well how we got these two different like flip sides of a coin with the father. Like he was doing all the parenting right in this scene. So you get the
Mhm.
first one where Kang basically says, I don't want to be a superstar. I'm not going to try and be a superstar on the football field because I'm not talented enough and I don't have time to make myself talented enough. So
Mhm.
he's like basically in one foul swoop saying to his father, I don't want to be, the best of the best. And also, I
Mhm.
don't want to follow in your footsteps, which a lot of parents have a lot of trouble with. So
Mhm.
in this instance, he's really good because he's just like, okay, you do you. Like he's basically okay, that's fine. But then when Salom says, when Kang says about how he wants to go to the same university as Salom, he then says to him, "Do you think you can do it?" So he's giving him like some expectations, but also challenging him because he says to him,
Mhm.
that's a pretty to get into a top school. That's a big deal. Like, he's essentially saying, you're
Mhm.
gonna have to work really hard for that. Can you do that? Like, are you gonna try?
Mhm.
Like, so he is putting expectations on Kang, which was really cool. So he did both things.
Mhm.
He did the I'm not going to make you do anything, but he also made the point of making sure that Kang realized that to get what he wanted, he was going to have to work for it. And it was really good because it was like what he wanted, but also what he needed to.
I also love how when Kang mentions the big bike, the father instantly understands Kang's thought and intention here.
Mhm.
They're finally in sync with their thoughts,
Yeah.
with their way. Like they finally understand each other because there was so like there was no communication, nothing when gifted him that bike.
Mm.
Like they were so far away, looking in different directions, like speaking in different languages. And right now, he just said big bike and like light bulb.
It also makes me wonder how Father Kang got to that point too, though, because like he was pretty blind to all of that, like that aspect of their relationship. So it's like, is that a conversation that Salom had with him? Like, you realize what this bike means, blah blah blah. Like, I can see that.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that might have happened, considering that Salom just talks to everyone in Kang's family, apparently, probably even more than he
Yeah.
does at this point.
That's why they're like busily
They're in
adopting
awe.
him.
They're in awe. Yeah, they're in awe of Salom. She's such a force in Kang's life.
And grandma's like, my
Force to
grandson
be reckoned
Salom,
with.
my grandson Salom,
Yeah.
go and fetch my grandson Kang some apples. But yeah, so all right.
When Salom, so then we had the scene where they kiss him, kiss him, kiss him. When Salom tells Guy and Nava that it's graduation day, they should give each other, I'm quoting, a kiss on the cheek or something, which is very innocent and naive of you, Salom. Nava looks at Guy for a second because it looks like he's considering it. And then he sees that the guy doesn't look back and is like, okay. And Guy says, no, you do it. But then he says, set an example. So, would he have done it if that said example had been set? Would he have done it? I have my own answer. Yes, it's not a rhetorical question. They would have kissed.
I mean, I'm like, we got that scene with them and that, and I was just like, oh my goodness. It's like they're just so, why are they like this? And they kept like, like they're like denying them as well, but also like inching closer together. Did you notice that?
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. I think I said that during the reaction.
Yeah, you probably
And
did.
also, like,
That's where I'm stealing it from.
they basically. Oh, and also, Guy and Nava kissed in the place where they noticed each other, in the place where they fell in love with each other. And they acknowledged that throwing punches is a metaphor for kissing. So, when they were in the bathroom that time, like
Have kissed.
they might have kissed, yeah, if
They had
Otto did not get
interrupt them.
involved.
Mm. And just, I mean, and once again prove the whole like, like metaphor of like pulling pigtails as well. I love that whole bit too, because it's like clearly I had to, like, the friend who didn't turn up was like the friend. I wonder if the friend was, do you remember they mentioned someone on the team? I think we can't remember what his name was, like Tem or something maybe. I know I'm getting that wrong, but feel free to correct me, whoever. Um, but like they said something about, oh,
I have no idea what
I
you're
came
talking
here
about.
to take pictures with him or whatever, and that I wonder if he was like he was the teammate who, do you remember when they were in Karat and there was that like poor guy like seated between them?
Oh, uh-huh.
Like how funny would that be if that was that friend? And it's like I feel like the entire team would know that they were like super sus at this point, because by this stage, we had all of their animosity. Then we had, Guy's injury and Nava like being extremely hands on in terms of like helping him with rehab and just like basically being his cheerleader. He essentially joined a sports team for a sport that he didn't really like and didn't know how to play. And it was just like I feel like the friends all knew, you know what I mean? Like this may have been a setup. It seemed like it was a setup to me. And then we basically got them punching each other with their lips.
Mm-hmm. Oh my god. Watching with the
And it was just like, yeah, of course they're going to
This
argue
is
about this. They were
super,
always going to argue about this.
super.
But I loved how like Nava was super brave.
I did not expect less of him.
Yeah, I feel like he was actually really brave, like pretty much with most of their interactions. Like he was the one who, when he could have gotten rid of Guy, didn't. He was the one who, you know, shook him out of this funk he was in, and then he's also the one that ultimately was like, "Let's do this."
He
um,
turned into a very emotionally intelligent person.
Yeah, I'm actually really curious to go back and watch his scene. I have no idea how I'm meant to go and watch this whole entire season, in between like now and when we start filming our special episode with Cass, because I kind of want to watch all the episodes, but I feel like there's not enough hours in the day. I mean, well, there is. I could quit my job, I suppose, but like short of that, I'm like not quite sure how I'm going to manage it. But I'm super curious to listen to, or not rather listen to, look at these scenes again, especially the bullying scenes, because I know that uh, some people, Cass, has issues with Nava and his bullying. So, because he
Well,
liked
who
Guy.
doesn't?
Sorry?
I mean, yeah, it was bullying.
No, but because he liked Guy already, we know he liked Guy for like 2 years. So when this episode starts,
You
and
know, with what's interesting, you say he liked Guy, and Guy, when they tried to bully Siloam, Guy was closed in a closet or something, in a different room. Like
yeah,
they closed
they
him
locked
there.
him out. Yeah.
They locked him in. Yeah, isn't this interesting?
Well, because he's the
Like he didn't
physical.
want him there because he would have started punching people, and
Oh,
they
yeah,
could have ended up.
he's the physical threat. Like from their perspective, when they look at the three of them, Guy is the one that they need to be afraid of.
Yeah.
But I mean, Salom did prove in the end as well that he knew how to throw a punch or two. But you know, he was the one that they thought was a physical threat. That's why they locked him up. But yeah, I I'm curious to see like exactly like what who does what, because honestly, when I first watched the first couple of episodes of this with the bullying, I like watched it obviously, but I didn't make myself look too closely, which probably is a bit of a cop out on my part, but it's not something that I found entertaining. So I didn't
Mhm.
really, you know what I mean? I didn't sit there and go, "Oh, they're doing this," although, you know, like seeing
They were horrible.
seeing the behind the scenes clip of this where the actors were all like really sweet to the actor who played Otto afterwards and making sure he was okay, and all that, like that made me being able to watch this series in the beginning so much easier. I feel like if I hadn't have seen that, I would have probably struggled a bit more about those scenes. But yeah, I feel like I want to see exactly what Nava does, like what is his role in these things, because if you look at it with the perspective of he had liked Guy for say 2 years already, and now he's bullying his friends. Like, it's one thing for him to go Guy because they were basically just doing this weird fucking version of their flirting, but for him to go after say Otto and then Salom as well, like it's just I must admit I get why people might have issues with it. I'm curious. I definitely want to see exactly what he does in those scenes. Um, One of the things for me with Salom and Kang was the fact that there was never any like physical violence or bullying between them, except for I guess when Salom hits Kang, and then I guess you could call Kang undressing him a physical assault, because essentially that's what it was. We talked about it with the in the escorting scene, so I feel like it should be mentioned that, you know, essentially it was something he was trying to do against his will and all the rest of it, which is
Yeah.
yeah. So, but other than those couple of things, there wasn't really any physical violence between the two of them. And I know there was no physical violence between, well, there was a little bit of physical violence between Nava and Guy, but that was
There
more about
was
them.
a little, there was violence.
No, no,
They
no. But I'm just
fought.
saying, no. But that wasn't them. That wasn't Nava bullying Guy. That was just them fighting. That was different.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about, like what Nava specifically did to Guy, sorry, to Otto. And I'm also curious as well, like exactly what Max was doing to Otto, just because of the dynamics of their relationship. I'm curious to know.
He burned the ticket.
I know that, but I'm just like they were all in the scene, and I wasn't really paying attention. Like I did
Well,
not
yeah.
retain the information to who did what, when, and where. If that makes any sense. I feel like Cass is gonna want to talk about that maybe. So I'm like, I need to get my notes prepared. Um,
So then we have the scene with Finfa and Abdal, which I consider so adorable. And her being like, look, my face is dull and tired. I have no makeup. While looking completely gorgeous and also having makeup on. And, Finfa being like, with a face of yours, little touch up can make it glow. And she says it while leaning closer. And Abdal looks her up and down and smiles. And she totally understood that he was flirting.
except I felt like this scene to me felt like it was like gonna be a promo for some sort of makeup or something, because I got all that, but it kind of felt a little bit much for me, like a little bit over the top. And then of course it wasn't even like a brand repping thing. Like you never actually really saw the brand of anything that she was putting on it. So I was like, oh, they're just being overly cute.
Well, this is her paying her back because Namdawa helped her with the makeup after she cried because of Ceylon.
Yeah,
And this is how she supported her, and now she wants to do the
repay the
same for
favor.
her. Yes. I thought it was very cute. I like
Mm-hmm.
the scene. I was smiling all the time, and Bimfa's reaction and her being too excited when she heard that Nabdawa is going to come to London and them setting a date. That was so cute.
It
I loved
was.
it.
It was cute, and it answered those questions we had about them, and I'm glad they did it that way. They could have had them like have a little sneaky kiss in the classroom or something, but I feel like that would have been kind of wrong, because even though that she wouldn't have been their teacher anymore or whatever, it's yeah, on the school grounds. I wouldn't have enjoyed it. I would have
Yeah.
criticized it.
Yes. It's just a little flirting and like a promise for something interesting
I do love how, like,
in
when
the
we get
future.
the scene where they're getting ready to go to Karat at the end to meet up with Kang, how like they're all like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And she's like, "Well, I'm not your teacher anymore." She's like, "Just like everyone, pay attention. I'm not the teacher." And she's like, "I want to make sure that you take me out of that role, because the next role I'm going to be in is Pimpar's girlfriend."
Yes, but also the fact that Pinfa knitted a scarf for herself and also one for Nagdawa, and she gave the scarf as a thank you for the guidance in London, which will happen in the future. So now Nagdawa has to do that. Like she already received the gift.
Yeah, transactional relationship happening right there. You owe me.
Yeah, Pinfa is investing in the future.
I love that. That's a great way to put it.
So then we have Grandma asking Salom to be a part of the family pic. And the dad, he's in the corner, but I don't know if you noticed when she says that, the dad nods.
Yeah. I feel like from the scene that we got in the hospital when Safai is like begging for forgiveness, I feel like they had already adopted both of them basically at this point in time.
Yeah, and then when the grandma starts dragging Salom away to make some other pictures, dad also pats Salom.
Yeah.
Like they're all form this
Yeah. Well,
circle around Salom, and he's like, oh.
as I said, I love the line, my grandson. Like I just love that. And I love that Kang is like super whiny in this scene, but he's also so fucking happy that Salom is being treated well and is like loved by the people he loves. And you can see it like when he eventually like follows them, like
Oh,
Perth's
of
cheeks
course.
Perth's
He's
cheeks are all like
excited.
bunched up, and so he's like grinning as he follows his
He's
family.
so happy. He's so happy. He is just, oh my God.
And do you know what else I love? I love Salom's laughter when Grandma is teasing Kang. Like I feel like it goes back to when he first moves into the house after
Mhm.
after he Kang basically like begged Grandma to bring him, and Grandma was teasing Kang. Do you remember? And he's just like,
Yeah.
"No, I didn't. I didn't. Like, could have been anybody. It didn't have to be him." which is all blatant lies, you know. And it's just like I feel like in this scene, Salome is like living for grandma, like teasing the fuck out of Kang.
And then you already talked about, I don't know, maybe you have something else to say, but to me, like, yeah, he says some very, very important stuff, but the fact that he closes up with, the speech, blah, 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 but more importantly, Salom is my boyfriend,
Yeah, I know, right? And the
which
wind
is
in the windmill
basically
comment. I love how he said,
basically yeah, the same thing that he does the same thing when he talks to his dad about his future being blah 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 future blah blah blah, but Salom, I need to go to be with Salom.
I mean, I feel like I feel like his dad and his grandma would have been like completely blind if they hadn't have already worked it out on their own. The fact that when he says, "Without wind, how can a windmill turn?" or whatever it is that he says, and like literally, you see the students in the school are like, "Oh my god!" Like some of them are like, "He's adorable," and the others are just like, "Seriously, again with this shit." Like no one is surprised by this except for
No
poor
one is
Sapphire,
surprised.
who's like, "What the hell just happened?" And it's like, we forgive you, sweetie. You were in prison and now you've been pining for your lover who's now in prison. So you've been distracted a little bit. It's all right.
It's okay. And then Salom finds Kang in the rain, which is like the storm of emotions that's been happening every time there's a storm of emotions. It's raining.
Yeah.
And the first serious question he asks is, "Your dad and grandmother is okay with us dating, aren't they?" Like, he doesn't look concerned, but this is something that matters to him, and
Yeah. He gets the
he's so happy to
confirmation.
be
Mm.
part of Kang's family.
I think also as well, like, it's like he's confirming it because he can't quite. He can't quite work out why Kang is being like this. Like he's just had this big triumphant moment with his speech. You know, your grandma and your dad are okay with dating, right? Like he's like, you know, so like why are you in the rain crying essentially? And I mean I must admit I was a little bit with like Salom on that, but I just assumed that it was probably because of his mom. I really wasn't expecting the scene we then got.
What if I don't make it and you can't clear your family's debts? I saw some people confused as to why this is still a thing, considering that Salom obviously changed Kang and, all the other stuff. I think it's very character consistent of him.
Yeah.
They made a deal. He has to fulfill his part of the deal. This is the only way he will be content with this situation. The grandma, as we already saw and we talked about it, and this is something that you mentioned that I really liked, she obviously understands and respects the way Salom's brain works. So the deal is still up. But okay, let's say Kang fails. Does anyone really think she'd be just like, "Well, my grandson, sucks to be you. Bye." I'm just so sure that she would have found a way to help him and not to make him feel like it's charity. But right now, everyone plays along with this narrative for Salom's sake, for Salom's and Kang's relationship's sake.
Yeah. Well, that's right. I mean, grandma's never going to abandon him, you know, like this is not what it's about. And but the thing is that Salom would not have accepted the money, just like handing him the money. Like, I think we did sort of talk about this a little bit in the reaction. Like the gift is different because the gift is a gift. And
If the-
you know, like she explains what the gift is for, and also he knows as well like that she values his opinion and his point of view. So like the gift from grandma is okay. um but yeah, it's a big difference. Like he wouldn't have just accepted the funds. Grandma would have had to do some pretty clever, like, you know, fancy footwork to try and resolve this if Kane didn't make it. But essentially, yeah, I feel like they have adopted Sapphire and Salom. Like they are just part of the family now, and they're never going to let them get hurt or anything if they can stop it. So, um, like Kang, they want to protect them. So there would be some sort of resolution. Maybe Grandma would just make a new deal. You know, she understands Salom's transactional
Yeah.
needs. I feel. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about this?
I want to talk about Kang being scared because I know you had some issues with it because you were surprised that he's just scared, or like,
I
or you had a
wasn't.
different opinion on why he's scared.
I honestly don't remember
Was it?
what I said, but I remember I do remember being surprised by that. Mainly, I think because I had in my mind when he came out there, it was going to be a scene about his mom. So I
Mhm.
maybe I had that in my, already in my system, but um,
Well, I
I don't
think
really.
Kang.
I don't really have feelings either way about this scene in regards to him. My feelings or my things I
Okay.
want to talk about are more about Salom. But yeah, so go ahead and say what you wanted to say.
So, and Kang is scared because this is something that happens. This is something that happens to people. Just as Salome mentions in his monologue, you work hard, you build yourself up, you manage to be happy, and then something happens, and you're suddenly back where you started.
Mm,
So he's that it, so happy that it feels unnatural, and he's not used to having all these things, success and happiness, and his dad's approval, and everything that comes along with it. He's scared that it's good to be true, and he's scared that he might fail them, because with expectations, not having people's expectations makes you feel like shit, but having people expectations make you scared that you might fail them.
mm.
And so right now I feel like he's scared that he maybe also them, that they all overestimated Kang. I love how Salom, in response, finally shows all his cards. So there's no expiration date to their relationship, not expecting anything to end. He's all in, and he's just looking forward to the future together. And in order to prove that to himself and to Kang, he finally lets his biggest secret out and makes himself even more vulnerable. And it's like he's finally ready to take his hidden treasure into the world and enjoy it. Because I love your idea that he never used that umbrella, and that
Mm.
it just stood there hidden, like with his feelings like hidden, and just kind of
Well,
pretending that it's not there, but at the same being unable to let go of
yeah.
them.
I feel like though at this point in time, it's like one of those things. He doesn't need the umbrella anymore because he has Kang.
He needed the umbrella because he did not have Kang.
No, I feel like he clung he held on to the umbrella and protected it the way he did because it was his feelings and it was like a physical representation of his feelings for
Yeah,
Kang.
yeah,
But he doesn't need that anymore. He doesn't need to cover it and hide it away. It's not a secret anymore, and
exactly,
he doesn't need the umbrella to represent his feelings because he has Kang now.
exactly.
I I do understand why he has those fears even in this moment, even like when with everything that's been through, but because he his expectation now because of what they've been through with the information that he has before the umbrella reveal is that if things don't work out or things get hard or something is like a roadblock or whatever, Salom will leave. Like that's essentially what he's taken from the stuff that's happened. Even though he like was shoving him away, like that is still his expectations before the umbrella reveal. Like he is like we had in the past, Salom was expecting for Kang, like for it not to work and for him not to be able to keep Kang, so to speak. And then I feel like in that scene, we see a little bit of the other side of that, where with Kang's insecurities are showing because Salom was so. See, it seemed like it wasn't this way, but from Kang's point of view, it seemed so easy for him to let Kang go. And so he's afraid that this little tiny thing, which is, and we say little tiny thing, it's not a huge thing, but like in the grand scheme of things, it's a small thing, could be the thing that unravels them or whatever. And the reason why I kind of thought that was interesting as well is I feel like this scene, right? So you're completely right. The umbrella is show like him revealing with the umbrella is he's actually willingly, voluntarily, Salom showing his vulnerability again. Um, and it's like, okay, it illustrates his love for him, which back then was pure because he says he didn't know like anything really about Kang back then, but like he loved him without knowing anything. Salom literally tells us that he didn't know anything about Kang. This is his whole
Mm-hmm.
point for the monologue, is that
Mm-hmm.
his feelings aren't going to change for Kang because Kang doesn't live up to
Mm-hmm.
some expectation, because he didn't have it. Like he does has no expectation. Not that he has no expectations, but that like it doesn't matter because the core of what he loves of him won't change, right? Essentially is what he's saying. But
Mm-hmm.
so he's telling us he didn't really know anything about him. Not at this point. Not like when he
Mm-hmm.
had his like little preteen like love bubble, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
but this what the problem with like part of what's happened with them in this series is he didn't know anything about Kang. So he made assumptions along the way, and then he built his expectations for failure upon that because of what Kang showed him, like of the way he is, like before they were together. And so like also his circumstances and his like experiences and everything, but this thing, the fact that he like really didn't know Kang like back then when these feelings were established and as he started to build expectations, I feel like that is one of the reasons why he was ready to sort of like he was expecting Kang to act a certain way. Um
You
and
know,
then
it's funny because I kind of agree with you, but at the same time, there's a little twist because what you're saying is that basically that something might happen and Selo might leave him, right? Like
no 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 no
there's
no
some
no no no
hardships.
no I haven't finished. No, that's what I'm saying. That's what that that is. I feel like that when I feel like this scene from Kang's point of view was prompted by his fear of that, right? What I'm saying to you is is
Of
is
what?
is
Oh,
sorry.
that Selo might leave him. That Selo might leave him.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like what I'm saying to you is these expectations that we saw Salom having for Kang, where he was expecting him to like, push him away or for it not to work out or whatever. The stuff that led up to the escorting scene, essentially, were all built because initially in the beginning he didn't really know anything about Kang, and then when he started to learn things about Kang, they were super negative things. So he built these like somewhat negative expectations upon Kang for things that like no longer really existed in what was happening between them. Like Kang wasn't that person with Salom that he had been during the bullying or like whatever and everything else. But also they're built upon Salom's own insecurities and whatever else. He tells us he knew nothing about him, but he loved him for whatever reason, right? He was kind. I feel like it was because of the interaction that we see. Intrinsically, he got from like child Salom, child Kang, that he is a good person and he's sweet and he was kind to him and all the rest of it, right? He was pretty cute boy, whatever, who was kind to him. So he built these feelings, all right? Well, let's say he built his bubble, right? And then as he did this, as he got to know like of Kang, you build opinions and assumptions and expectations on how you think certain things are going to go based on what you think you know about somebody, right? So before they even started, he already had these like I guess false expectations because he didn't actually know him until he did. But by the time he knew him, these expectations were so ingrained in him already that it didn't matter really what Kang did. Salom was already expecting it. Like it wasn't until like everything happened and they are where they are now that he I feel like Salom realized what he'd done. Like I feel like Salom is past that because I feel like this scene, like they're in this point now that now he really knows Kang, so he can place expectations on him that are realistic and fitting, which is why like what we see after this is all like super positive and like really like he's not at all concerned. Like we see the scenes where I was concerned watching them when they were talking about the fact that he'd been gone for 2 months, and then Kang being Salon being like, "Oh yeah, I haven't really heard from him." I was concerned by all this. I was starting to get worried. I'm like, "What's going on here?" But Salom isn't concerned. Like Salom is not worried. He's completely um like comfortable in what's happening in their relationship. Like he's not, you know, even when Kang is missing and he goes looking for him, he's concerned, like he's worried about his boyfriend and that like he might be upset or like spiraling or whatever, but he's not like, he's very confident in their relationship, which is completely different to how he was before, like all before. So what I'm saying is these unhealthy expectations that you and I have talked about multiple times that he had of Kang like leaving him or like of it not working out because of their differences and all the rest of it will build upon things that he like either like falsehoods that he learned along the way or like assumptions that he made and not actually on like the expectations weren't made after him and Kang actually really got to know each other is what I was trying to say.
The way I see this scene is that Kang is doubting himself again, and he is thinking like, what if I'm not good enough? And so that's why he asks another what if question. And he asks another what if question because he did it multiple times. He said, what if I was poor? What if I was that? And now Kang knows Salom loves him, and he would love him even if he was poor. He would love him even if he failed to protect him. He loved him. He even loved him when he was a bully.
Mm.
He loved him even when he didn't know who he was, because ultimately he believed in him no matter what. To him, Kang is not his money or his achievements. To him, Kang is a person with a kind heart that just changed his life forever. And no matter how he fails, he still has that hope for him that he will get back up and he will return to being.
Mm. And I
He will
agree.
try, he will do better. He will try to do better.
Yeah.
This is what so in
But
this end.
I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying there, but I'm just saying the conflicts that we had earlier on, I think, were caused initially because in the building of his feelings for Kang, he did not know him. Like he came to these realizations that you're saying after all of this crap that they've been through. He
Yeah,
realizes that Kang is not this
this is
person.
why he's ready to bring out the umbrella. This is why he's finally
Yeah,
ready
exactly. But
to.
I was just saying, I thought it was interesting this revelation that we got of him saying, "I didn't really know you, so what? You know, these things aren't going to change because, like, intrinsically, the things that I love about you aren't going to change, like, essentially." And you're right. Kang's thing is his insecurities that we've seen. And we also discussed multiple times, but I feel like they may be triggered by these expectations that he'd witnessed Salom having for him of like, you know, disappointment essentially. So he's still held on to that a little bit. But it's good because this scene clears all that out and we see that.
So we have four flashbacks. The moment Kang gave him the first umbrella, the moment they kissed. Well, kissed. The moment Salom hate kissed him and Kang became obsessed with him. The moment Salom suggested himself as a reason for Kang to try, and the moment Kang suggested himself as Salom's protector, in a way, giving him the second umbrella.
What I think is really interesting about the expectations that Salom had for Kang in in this series is that all the expectations that he put on Kang in regards to him like improving himself and studying and like doing well and all these things like that. He never, I don't think, was concerned that Kang would not fulfill these to the best of his abilities. And I feel like his expectation was as long as Kang tried and did his best, then he would have met all of Selm's expectations in regards to that,
Yeah,
right?
because he failed multiple times, and Salom never left him. He always encouraged him.
Yeah, that's
Like
right. This
this game, and then like him getting into the university. At first, the first two times when he did not fail, or maybe also the escorting scene when he appeared and saved him. But that was traumatic, and you cannot really say that that was a complete success in a way.
no, but he did meet his expectations because he called him and he knew he would
And
come and he did.
he appeared, yes.
Yeah.
But
But I
all
mean,
the other times he failed.
yeah, but what I'm saying to you though is in regards to this like self improvement, this like doing well with school, trying like all of these aspects, this soccer, all of this stuff that he placed upon Kang. Kang successfully achieved essentially. He tried. He didn't give up. He kept trying, right? Except for initially when he was like, "I'm not doing this." But once he realized that Salom's safety was on the line because of it, he tried. It became a mission statement for him almost. But then we had these conflicting expectations where although he like Salom like fully believed in Kang, and then suddenly in this aspect of like them being able to withstand, everything and anything and whatever else, he had no um he had no belief in these expectations, or his belief were in negative expectations. But it's so interesting because his two sets of expectations for Kang were so different, and yet he was so sure about one of them. Well, he was so sure about both of them really, but one of them was so positive and the other one's so negative, and it's just like it's interesting that he didn't realize that the contradiction in his own like thought process with that, because he's a smart guy, but obviously feelings make things more complicated, don't they?
Yep.
And then I don't know what came next. What came next after that?
Well, they go to crap, but I have nothing to say about that. I
Yeah,
just
I'm
think
like, I feel like
thinking
we can.
about.
I feel like we pretty much can move straight to the windmill scene, except the only thing I really have to say about the Korra scene is that I absolutely love that they even included like this whole bit in, even though like for the most part there it's like it seems to serve no purpose. I mean, it's basically a chunk of a storyline that Kang is not in. But
Mhm.
they utilized it really well. I liked how they used Otto and not Otto, Otto and Max to do their little vlogging to tell us, like to narrate to us what we didn't know. This part of the story that
Mhm.
we didn't know, because we didn't know why he was in Korra. We didn't know, like why he hadn't been calling, blah 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 blah. What
Mhm.
I loved about this was the level and planning and commitment that went into Kang's entrance project for university. Like, it was just so important to him to give it his all. Like, he really wanted this. And not just for Salom, I think, but also for the kids too that he was working in. Like, the fact that he chose to go back to that location where, first off, it meant something to both of them, but also he saw something there and it resonated inside of him. It's like probably what prompted his career choice as well. That like one, those couple of like moments that they spent with these kids. And
Yeah.
I really just love that even though he's not in that scene and we don't get to see him working with the kids and all the rest of it, which is another way they could have done it. Like, they could have done it where they basically got there and he was like working with the kids essentially. And then they could have had him act weird or something because like he found out and he wanted to sneak off and get his bike, or you know what I mean, like they could have still done it a different way, but I liked the way they did it. I think it was good the way they did it. And I
I
just
enjoyed spending more time with the whole group.
yes, same. I think it was nice that we got to see them, and got to, because I feel like even though we had this conversation about how essentially we now know Kang as well, but Kang, Salom, Otto and Max are all going to go to the same university. Guy was going to a different university, and then Nava, for some unknown reason, was going to Chiang Mai. But it gave this, and then of course Pimfar and Nado were going to London. But it gave this, like, I guess, positive reinforcement that even though school's over and they're going different places, they're still going to be friends and they're still going to like connect up every now and then and all the rest of it. So I liked that. I think that was really well done. But then I
Mhm.
think if you don't have anything else to say, I feel like we can move on to the windmill scene.
I have a question.
Yes.
Salom and the windmills calling Kang his boyfriend. Isn't it the first time he addresses him this way? Like, this is like him finally claiming Kang back. I don't think he calls him boyfriend before that.
I would need to rewatch with that like intention to know that. I don't feel like I
I
picked that
mean,
up.
Kang called him multiple times, but I don't know about
Yeah,
Salom.
I
He
feel like
always
this.
used all kinds of metaphors and like
I
he
re
even kissed him or like, oh,
Yeah.
can't you tell and everything. And this is him claiming Kang back
Yeah,
finally.
I really feel like this was the episode that if you wanted to play a drinking game, this was the one, and the word was boyfriend,
Yes.
because Kang said it a bunch of times. I'm sorry, Guy and Nava said it a bunch of times, and then Salom said it as well. It was like, who didn't say boyfriend at this point? I
That
mean,
is
like
true.
if we had Sapphire saying, because I think he says like something about you guys are dating or something. Now, if he had said like he's your boyfriend, then we would have got another drink. But like honestly, I just was like, I feel like there was plenty. You could have gotten slightly tipsy.
This moment reminded me of episode 4, the way he kind of prepares for Cam to tell him he failed, but there's no heartbreak this time because they're not going to separate anyway.
Yeah.
This time he did not have to fake it.
Yeah. I feel like as well, I feel like he's at this point so long where, yeah, as you said, it doesn't he doesn't have to have a negative feeling about it because he knows that it'll work out. So he's gone from nothing ever works out, I get nothing nice, I don't get to keep any of the good stuff,
Yes.
to it's okay because it's all going to work out, to but he's there in case he's there for Kang unless in case Kang isn't okay.
Yes.
So what I wanted to say about this, probably the main thing I wanted to say about this scene, actually probably the only thing I wanted to say about this scene, although I may spill out some other stuff depending on what you've got to say, is the
Mhm.
way they tentatively and carefully hold hands in the last scene. Like the very last scene with the windmills where you see them. To me, it's extremely obvious um what this is like representing. And I don't really want to bring it up. I feel like probably we're going to talk about the discourse next time we record with Kes, but there's a lot of discourse going around online about like um about the intimate scenes in this drama, about the chemistry between the actors. There's all sorts of like ridiculous stuff going on at the moment. Which if you've been listening to us for the last like 19 plus episodes, this is 20 now, episodes, you know our opinion on it, so I don't really need to get into that. But I feel like this scene is one of those scenes that I feel like a lot of people have missed, once again missed the point of. We get this scene between Kang and Salom where, you know, this they're really happy, and then it's just this sweet thing, they're like watching the sunset, the windmills are going on, the way they tentatively and come like very carefully hold hands, right? It's extremely obvious to me that it's an expression on how innocent the intimacy between them still is. Like it's it's careful because they've been through so much, um, but it's also like, you know, a little bit innocent as well. You know, like it's
Youthful.
they're just so like, as I said, so tentative here, but like gentle with one another because they've been through so much crap at their age and they don't want anything to fuck this up, right? They're not trying to have
Hmm.
sex in the middle of the windmill farm. They're just wanting to know that the other person is there, that they can reach out and that person will still be there. And but even after everything, like even after everything they've been through, they still are really, really careful with one another because it's just that important to them. It's just like this is why we're not getting like crazy tongue kisses and, you know, whatever, because what's happening between them, it's too fragile and perfect. They have forever for all of that crap, like, you know, because let's face it, Kang is never letting them be apart again, even if he has to walk his path in Salom's shadow, right? Just out of reach, he's never ever letting him like get any further than that. So like they have essentially, you know, unless like an asteroid hits and like strips them off the planet, they have the rest of their lives for all that other crap. This in this moment, they're just like two lovely boys who are in love, who haven't seen each other for a couple of months, who've just got this confirmation that they now get to have pretty much everything that they've been dreaming about for the last however many months, and they get to do it together. Like this is just the sweetest, like, I don't know. I just loved this bit. I love the bit where they're all we're looking at is their hands. Like it's so fucking intimate.
They changed each other's lives so much, like fundamentally,
Mm,
and they're aware of it, and it's such a big thing for anyone.
yeah,
It's not just for a teen, but for to be aware that this person just changed. Like you would have been in such a different place
yeah.
if it weren't for
Well,
hadn't been.
I mean, I feel like that's a good game for maybe next podcast is the what if game. Like where would they be? Like what if this had happened, blah 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 blah. Where would Kang be right now? Where would Salon be? Like, I feel like there's a fun game maybe for us to play next time. um
Yeah, and the fact that they're aware of how important, of how what a big, you know, space, what
Impact.
how big the space, yeah, the other person takes in their heart, in their lives, and it's quite terrifying. I mean, yeah, they're tentative, like it's so important. Like this can ruin them if
Yeah,
this breaks. And
this
yeah, this
dangerous
is a
romance.
fucking dangerous romance.
Yes. It's that's the thing. It's even though they're so like 100% sure here, it's still so fragile. Like they don't want to risk anything like getting in between them. And I just yeah, I have so many words. And then of course the other thing that happens in this beautiful scene is we have the revisit of the monologue. And I didn't think I had anything to say, but I've just realized I actually do have notes here. So one of the things that I wrote down, and I just kind of thought that it was an interesting thing because obviously we have like the other thing we've had a lot of discourse about with like people hating on this show or for whatever, disliking it, whatever, is this whole like separation of the classes and, you know, the haves and the have nots and the privileges and, you know, whatever else. But like what I say to those people and like is that money can't love you, right? So you can be the richest person in the world, but money can't love you. Like it's not going to make you happy. I mean, you can love money, but money can't love you back. So I think that like one of the things we talked at, I think quite at length in the reaction, you and I had both kind of strong standpoints about what was being said at the end, where he says about how he thinks everybody is equal and everything. And I feel like besides him realizing that essentially intrinsically they're the same, I feel like he's also realized that their differences are not that important because they love each other too much to let it get between them. Like, I feel like they can't be without each other, so they must meet in the middle. And for them, their love is their equalizer. Like, their love is what makes them equal in their relationship because it's wholly consuming for both of them. So that's not a commentary on social whatever. Like I know we spoke about that side of it last time and I still fully believe
Hmm.
all of what we talked about, but I also think that this moment is very much because when he says these things he's looking at Kang, he's embracing Kang. I feel like this
It's so
is
funny that you say that.
you've
So
got words.
I got words. So he begins with, do you think all people are equal? So he's asking us. And then he says, obviously people aren't the same. This is the same stuff that he says in episode one and in this episode.
Mhm.
He begins, but in episode one, he begins it with a pessimistic view. It's a realistic one, but still a resigned attitude, which stands in sharp contrast with the way he behaved in the first episodes. Because it was like he was fighting against the system, like, even though he actually believed that there's no way to get out. Like, he was trying to do something that he thought was impossible.
It's funny though as
And then
well though. Sorry. It's funny though as well because you said about him fighting against the system because he definitely was doing that. But at the same time, while he was doing that, he was trying to navigate it in the way that's like the proper way, if that makes any sense. Like he was very careful about making sure that he was doing the right thing and not breaking any rules and you know all that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
Sorry. But continue what you were saying. I just was interesting juxtaposition about those two things.
So and then Salome realized that they are actually the same. People are equal. Like, he and Kang are very similar. I just think that in the beginning they thought it wasn't true, and Salome was his own worst enemy in the situation. He
Mm,
felt like he was less than because of his background, and he was trying to prove it to others, but mostly he was trying to prove them to himself that they are equal, but he didn't believe it.
mm,
It took him a lot of time and hardship and love to actually start believing in this himself. So he says all this stuff again in this last scene, and he says, but as I reach a certain point, fate pulls me back to where I started again. In the first episode, I thought it was about misery and poverty and despair. And it's so funny because you just talk about it. But in this new context, it makes me feel it's actually about him loving Kang and being unable to turn away from him. Like fate, he believes that meeting him and falling for him was his fate. His fate was to be besides Kang. This is where it always pulls him back. The fate always pulls him back to Kang. They're the wind and the windmill. They belong together. So now this monologue ends with hope and optimism because he is happy with Kang. He tells us his answer, something that he was unable to do in the first episode. He does believe people are equal. Besides all the social commentary, I think, yes, I agree. A big part of this monologue now is about his relationship with Kang.
Yeah, I also think it's really interesting because you said like they are equal in their relationship, and I think it's interesting. Oh, I think it's not interesting. I think it's important to note that like we have talked about this, but also we have as ourselves we have the power to make things to shift the balance in relationships. It happens all the time. Like we we make choices that shift the balance. Now it's funny because in talking about them being equal in their relationship, and I definitely agree, I feel that that's where they are at this point. It's interesting because during the passage of their relationship, in different moments they're not, and by that I mean they both essentially kind of put each other on a pedestal, which means that they are shifting the balance themselves. So we have Kang, who definitely does it with Salom early on. Like he is, I feel like I may have said Sapphire a few times in this podcast where I meant Salom. So if you thought I should have said Salom, just insert Salom in your brain. The names are like messing with my tired brain. But we talked about how Kang had Salom up on this pedestal, and then like when he fell, it was like, earth shattering. But like he did that, so he shifted this imbalance between them, and it has nothing to do with socioeconomical status or whatever, or like social commentary and all that sort of stuff. Just within their relationship, like there was this shift in the balance because he did that. But then Kang was sorry, Salom was sort of doing the same thing to Kang in a respect, because he was looking at him through the eyes of like a little bit of privilege, prejudice, and things like that, and also like he had these, once again, these negative expectations and stuff like that. So he'd shifted their balance. But now that all that crap is gone, like now that neither of them have that, the pedestal is gone. I mean, Kang still thinks this, like that Salom can shoot rainbows out of his backside, but like he's more realistic about it now. Like he's like, yeah, he can do that, but like also
But
he's like this.
he knows Salom needs him,
Yeah,
which is all that he needed to believe, to just not for Salom to be perfect, but not like on a pedestal perfect,
yeah,
but perfect for him.
yeah. That's right. They can touch each other now. They've equalized themselves, so they're within reach like now. And it's such a like this to me. This scene was really really interesting because the monologue, as we said in the previous reaction, that there was like social commentary happening in that as well. But
Yeah.
this whole drama, and this is one of the things I think a lot of people have issues with in this drama, is they've come into this drama thinking it's going to be like something that it's not. Like actually I feel like people have got a lot of people had a lot of expectations for this drama. Keep coming back to expectations, but they had like expectations like that it was going to be like
Mhm.
this way in terms of like maybe the sexiness of it, and they had expectations about like how much social commentary was going to be about, but intrinsically this show is about Kang and Salom's relationship, and only a very small part of that has to do with their social economic balance or shift or like whatever. Like it's not, it's a part of them, of course, and it's a pretty big part, but it's not the be all and end all of who they are. They prove that by getting to where they are at the end of the show. But it's like I feel like people miss that. So it's really interesting
It's
that
like
this.
it's not a part that needs to be destroyed in order for them to be able to be together.
That's right. And it doesn't,
It's just a part of them.
yeah, that's right. And um it doesn't really have to alter who they are, and like because who they become to each other is, it like balances all of those things out. They just have to, you know, I don't even know how to explain it, but I feel like we've explained it already. But it's just, yeah, it's just, and I really liked this scene. I really liked that they introduced the monologue, and I really liked that it had this almost kind of double entendre where it provides both sets of like explanations in there. You know, you're getting your socioeconomic for those who really wanted it. You're getting your social commentary, but you're also getting this like, we're equal because like this. I feel like their love has equalized them.
Yes. And it's another scene that one while watching it to make notes. I cried. Cried.
I didn't cry. I think because I
It's
was
so
so
it's
happy.
gorgeous.
Yeah,
It's
it
very
is a
beautiful.
beautiful scene. It is a
And
beautiful
just
scene.
listening to him talk, and then I just went and watched the monologue from episode 1, and then I went to this one, and it's just the contrast and everything. It just was too much.
Well, it's interesting too because if you
It was
think
very
about, and
emotional.
I bear in mind that I'm saying this based on the fact that I have not really done many rewatches of the earlier episodes, and I may say something that's not accurate. So you probably know more, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. But in the first monologue, we get Salom, and he's essentially alone, surrounded by a bunch of people who are privileged. Correct?
Basically, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we could look at it to that he is in the beginning of this, it's like a metaphor for him being like
An
surrounded by a
outsider.
society that he is an outsider for. Right?
Hmm.
He's alone in this sea of people. He's an outsider. He can only hope to belong to this society, this group of people, this like whatever, right? And we end with him alone, essentially in the dark with um Kang, and yet it's totally enough. He's no longer alone. He just needed that one person.
It's not in the dark. It's the sunset. It's
Oh
just
yeah,
in
but it's
in the middle.
twilight. It's
It's
twilight.
not yes. It's not dark. It's not light. It's just in the middle, in the
Yeah, yeah.
perfect
I
middle.
don't I don't mean dark as in like darkness like a negative way. I just mean like he is, because okay, you could put a negative connotation on darkness, but like the fact that it's getting to twilight, whatever it is, it's
No,
getting there.
what I meant is that they're in the perfect middle.
Yeah.
They're in the middle. They met each other in the middle. This is what I
Oh,
meant.
they did. Yeah, they did. But I also think you could look at it as they're moving towards this dark like area, but not in a bad way, because I feel like this scene, they're so comfortable. It's just them. There's no one else around. They're completely um they're completely, oh god, what's the word, content to just like stand there and hold hands in a field full of windmills. Like it's just, that's like all they need. Like there's no, I don't need to do this, I don't need to make this choice or make better whatever, or like I don't need all these people, I don't need all the voice. There's none of that. It's just the two of them together. Like he's gone from being surrounded by, so much negativity to just like this one positivity.
Hmm. And then we have the last scene.
We had the extra special scene, which I really wasn't expecting. It was so funny because I remember the windmill scene is perfect. If they had ended it there, it was perfect.
Yes, I agree.
But on further reflection, I now feel like the hotel room scene is perfect.
Yes,
I'm,
I agree.
I'm like, and would you like me to tell you why? So, okay, I am just. Oh, okay. So I feel like it's funny. Once again, I watched, as I said previously, I watched a few reactors and stuff, and because I was really curious because there was so much discourse about the drama, and including this scene. And I was interested to see what other people saw. Like, am I? Are we the only ones who are seeing it this way? Are other people seeing it this way?
Hmm.
And I was watching this one reaction and I was living for it, because literally anytime, like anytime there was any sort of intimacy between Salom and King, they were just like, shut up. And they were talking to like all the haters. They were like, what is wrong with you people? Are you watching something different? Because like, oh my God, look at the goosebumps. Like I was just loving it. I was living for it. It's always great when you find like-minded people, you know.
Mhm.
And of course, you know, this is all happening and I was loving it and everything. But I just, while I was watching it, I started to notice things, you know, and I was just like, this is interesting. I noticed that in this scene, there is so much. There are so many things. Like we get all these callbacks, which we know, which are great, but there are so many things that are happening here. And as I said, there, and this scene caused so much discourse, like on Twitter, on Tumblr, or like all over the place. You know, there was all these, once again, commentary on their chemistry as actors, on the storyline. There were people who hated that they revisited the escort scene and had, you know, Salon playing escort to Kang. They wanted Kang to be the escort, whatever. I don't know. Like I just whatever. This scene, I feel like this scene is not in poor taste, which is something I saw someone say. It's not tragic or traumatizing or anything like that. The thing that makes this scene amazing is that Salom is he's taking ownership of something that happened to him, right? Something negative that
He's
happened to him.
taking he's taking control of the narrative.
That's right. And he's turning this thing into something fun and playful and beautiful. And look, he's the victim in this story, right? In this particular instance, this particular memory, this particular thing that happened. So he is the one that gets to decide how to move on from that, right? So everyone should just honestly be quiet. This is about this. People talking about how this is wrong, how it's like whatever. They need to. I That was me being quiet. I actually said shut the fuck up. But anyway, because like this is something that happened to him. It's not your trauma. It's not my trauma, right? It's not your relationship. It's not my relationship. We can be unhappy. People can judge him. Sorry, people can be unhappy about how the way this went or whatever, but you cannot judge him for it, because this is his to own. This is his trauma to own and to take control of in the way that makes him like feel safe, and to move on from that. And of course, I'm like watching this, and I was just really interested to see like the commentary that people were having. So first off, they didn't like that he did this, and one of the reasons was they thought that Kang should be the one to look after Salom or something or serve Salom and all this. And I'm like, I feel like I'm watching a different show to these people. Like I honestly just feel like I'm watching a different show. So the final scene starts with Kang saying, "I thought you didn't accept escort jobs anymore." And I feel like this is his playful way of saying, or rather confirming something like, this is never happening again, right? In a playful way. To which Salom replies that this is a special thing only for Kang. Like Kang is the exception. He's the only
Mhm.
one that's going to get this part of Salom, right? This is what's happening in this scene. This is the conversation they're having. It's like it's painful. They're playful, not painful. It's like it's playful. They're teasing. They're flirting. But this is the reading between the lines. This is the subtext. This is, you're not going to do this anymore. No, I'm not. This is just for you only, right? Okay, love that for them. Following on
I
from
love
that,
what you're doing right now.
sorry.
I love what you're doing
Oh,
right
okay.
now.
I thought you said to me, "What are you doing right now?" I'm like, I don't know. Okay, so following on from that, we get the "what services do you provide" question, and the answer being everything. Well, of course, it's the sexy response. It's also very telling, because what we already know about them is that they are everything and they are willing to do everything for each other. Um, and like, you know, obviously this is something that is said, and any other horny teenage boy who is alone in a hotel room with his boyfriend who's had a little bit of wine, Kang is suddenly feeling very, yes sir, let's do this. um and then we have this initial move to go in for a kiss, and it's denied. And he lets go, gently stroking Salom's neck, but ultimately he backs off. The first objection that Salom kind of makes to him sort of initiating a kiss, he takes as him being playful. The second one he immediately obeys. Then he tries to pull him close. He gets told no, so he lets go. It's like he is such a green flag in this scene. Like, even before he says, I love you, and Salom pulls out of the kiss, Kang was holding onto the side of his head. As soon as Salom pulls out, he immediately lets go of him. He keeps handing all of the power over to Salom. When he says "I love you," he does this little thing too, where he like plays with the collar on Salom's shirt, and oh my god, I don't know why, but it just does weird things to me. Good things, but weird things. But like the consent and stuff just keeps getting asked and offered and answered in this scene in a bunch of different ways, and like even the part where he's unbuttoning Salom's shirt and he gets to that certain point, he goes to sort of open it. Salom stops him. He doesn't try to force the issue. He
Yeah,
just
but
sits back. He
even
lets.
the what services are you offering? Like what is this? Like what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we allowed to do? And he says everything. This is the part of the same conversation with the consent.
Yeah, and it's so funny because it's interesting because Kang asked the question. Salom gave him basically blanket permission to do whatever, and then he proceeds to keep putting up these roadblocks, which must be very
Yeah, yeah.
frustrating for a teenage horny boy. But not once does Kang try and push the issue. He's letting him do whatever. So he basically, he doesn't force the issue. He just sits back and he lets him. He's letting Salom drive this thing. And it looks like Salom is taking care of Kang in these scenes, but Kang is actually taking care of Salom because he's giving him the power to do whatever he pleases, what makes him comfortable, what makes him feel safe. And people are fucking dumb if they don't understand what's going on here. Like, I just don't understand. I'm sorry, but they are. I am also just like loving that they are just so
I love how they just settled into their roles in their relationship. And I don't mean this roles that they play here.
mm,
They're just comfortable in their relationship. They feel secure about who they are to each other, about who they are in general, about the position they hold in each other's lives, which
mm.
allows them to try on these roles and masks and play with each other.
I
It's
also
just it's
yeah.
so cute.
I also love there's so many lines in this scene that I loved. Like, as I said, we got all the callbacks. I loved all the callbacks. But the bit like where Kang says to him, "I love you," and Salom says, and I didn't write down the exact quote, so I'm paraphrasing, but he says something about like, "Aren't you afraid to confess your love to
Escort boy.
an escort boy or something like that?" And Kang says, "No, I'm more afraid of losing you." And it's like he's just saying to Salom, "I don't care. I am quite happy to be vulnerable with you. I just do, like my worst fear isn't like whatever. My worst fear is not having you like beside me." I have to say though, like, take off your shirt and kiss me nicely might be my favorite thing in the world. And because I've been super serious in that, I also have to say I'm trying to restrain myself from talking about Pert's nipples. Like, I actually have a note in my notes that says "Do not talk about Pert's nipples."
I'm so obsessed with the way they look at each other
That
in
is
that
not what I
moment.
thought you were gonna say. Then when
I did not even notice the nipples. There were
no,
nipples.
because when I was just like, "Don't talk about the nipples," and you're like, "I'm just so obsessed." I'm thinking, "Hang on, where's this going?" No, well, I didn't. You know what? The first watch, I did not notice the nipples at all. And then I watched one of the reactions, and then I watched the episode with my mum, and the first thing my mum said was, "Oh, look at his nipples! It must be cold in that bathtub because they're erect." And Thailand's a hot place, and I'm just like, maybe the air conditioner was on. Like, I don't know. Like, why are we having a conversation about the nipples? But it's like one of those things. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. So everybody say thank you because I've now alerted you to Perth's nipples. They're very pretty. Um,
I'm never watching that scene again.
you have to watch it now. I want you to watch it and then come
No.
back and tell me. Do you agree with my commentary that they are very pretty? They are very pretty. Okay,
Wait,
so
you're talking about the nipples right now?
I think I'm talking about them in general, but their nipples are, I'm assuming, also very pretty. And then I was gonna say something else. I'm just trying to remember what it was. Oh, the other thing I absolutely loved about this scene was when like Salom has this moment when Kane goes into the bathroom where he's super confident. Like he has this like I'm gonna mess with this boy. I'm gonna like make all his dreams come true. But first I'm gonna torture him a little bit. And then when he gets actually in the bathroom, you can tell he has this moment where he's just like, I really have no idea what I'm doing right now. And you know,
I don't think so. I just think that he wanted to prolong this play. Like he wanted to play this role for a longer time, and the costume is part of his role. And
I
he
guess
just
so.
wanted to.
It could also be like a vulnerability thing though as well. Like it's it's one thing to like get naked and have like make love or whatever with your partner, but then like strip off in front of them while they're just standing there, like sitting there in a bathtub, like watching you. Like it's pretty confronting, even if you're like really happy with your body or whatever. But the bit where Salom gets into the bathtub fully clothed, I love how it doesn't even phase like Kang. Like he's not even like, what the fuck is he doing? He's just like, my perfect boyfriend. He's so adorable, and now he's wet in the bathtub with me. I love him so much.
He thinks that's so hot.
Yeah, like this is his inner monologue. He's like, can I touch him yet? Am I allowed to touch him yet? But yeah, but as I said, I had all these deep feelings.
He knows Kang's favorite activity is undressing him, so let's say his priorities.
Yeah, it's like yeah, I have all these like head like canons about Kang and like them in the future. Like they they use all the same like products and everything because he must
Of
always be able to
course.
smell him. Yeah. Like Kang switches all of his products to Salom's like cheaper, like maybe not as good quality because just the way he likes the way it smells.
No, I just want to mention and scream about it one more time. It ends in the fucking bathroom,
I
in the
know, and do
physical
you know what?
embodiment of their bubble.
Do you know what?
And we got that. We had this idea. We had this idea right at the beginning. It was during the first episode with the bubble idea, with the bathroom, with the post about the bathroom. It just like, and I thought like that was a python. No, what is the biggest experience? The when they reconciled in episode 11. I thought that was it. This is the moment, and then they give us this and it happens in the fucking bathroom. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you trying to get me to lose my fucking mind?
Well, it was so
Is it
funny
working?
because I remember you dropped that in the chat the other day, and I was just like, how did I miss that? Of course, it happened in a fucking bathroom. That was brilliant. And the other thing I was noticing is it's in this like they're in a round bathtub, like they're literally basically in like a big bubble. And you could even like further extend their bubble to the fact that, like what I was talking before at the beginning, Salom is surrounded by people. There's like, whatever, he doesn't fit in, whatever. And then at the end, it's just him and Kang in their bubble out by the windmills. But yeah, they're very, I don't know. Like, yeah, I really,
And just in case someone missed this, Kang broke his role so many times, making sure that everything is okay and
yeah,
reassuring Salom in his own ways. And Salom is the one who just kept playing and he kept dragging this.
mm,
And he like this is also like a way of for them to erase that horrible memory from the incident with the assault by writing something new, having an experience that is empowering for both of them, but
exactly.
especially for Salom because he's in
Yeah.
control of the situation.
Yeah, and as I said before, one of the reasons why I absolutely love this scene is because they gave us this, like, it, and you're like 100% correct. So what I was saying before about like this is Salom's trauma, he's taking ownership of it. But you're correct, they were both there. It was traumatic for both of them. And by Salom doing this, he is making sure that it's repairing both of them, because he wouldn't be the only one with hang-ups about this. Like Kang has like would be having hang-ups about the fact that he, let him down, he let him get hurt, he like all these things, plus also his own bad behavior at the time. And so this is Salom's way of like rewarding him for all of his hard work, and also like basically just like repairing maybe something that was not quite like there yet, but now we can do this, and now it's like it belongs to us and it can't hurt us anymore. And I just loved it. I loved what a green flag he was. I just said how he kept like making sure that breaking character and making sure that he was okay and that he felt safe, and that like this is something he actually really wanted to do. And like just everything about it. And as I said, every single moment pretty much except for the first initial kind of like no, and he didn't actually say no either. Salom kind of went mm-mm, or something like that. Like he made a noise,
Mm-hmm,
and then the second time he did it, like Kang was like, "Oh, he's not flirting. He's serious. Like he's like, he might be serious." So he stopped straight away, and then every like no after that, it's like straight away he just like backs off, and it's like he's so understand, like they are so in sync that he completely understands what's happening, like he knows what's happening here. And he is like just making sure that the man he loves is safe, and like oh my god, we should all be so fucking lucky, honestly. um i feel like they're
I also
trying I feel like they're
yeah.
trying to erase the danger in their dangerous romance as well by doing something like this.
I also love I love how it begins. The series begins with Kang unbuttoning Salom's shirt and with Salom having no control of the situation, with him clenching his fist, and it's all hateful and awful. And then here it ends with Kang unbuttoning Salom's shirt, but here Salom does have control of the situation and he stops him, but not because he hates it, but because it's playful and he wants to kiss him. And
Yeah,
it's Salom kissing him again, but this time with love, and everyone is happy and everyone is enjoying it. So it's like the first one was a start to their story, but this is a new start.
yeah.
Another start that is sweet and playful, and it's only theirs in their personal bubble in this little world where no one else exists by them
In the bathroom. But yeah,
in the
it's
mouth.
in the bathroom. But yeah, you're completely right. This scene is not just about the escort and the sexual assault. This is also about that very first moment between them, which was, you know, potentially both of their first kisses. It was like, just everything about it was, as I said, probably the only physical assault part that we got from Kang on behalf of Salom was this moment where he was undressing him against his will.
And
Um,
they rewrote that as well.
yeah,
They
that's
did
right. They've
something beautiful
they've
instead
rewrote
of
it
this.
into
Yeah.
their history, and they've turned this whole like thing, and even like the callbacks they keep coming, hero, heroine, all that sort of stuff that they keep doing. They're calling back to things that were like traumatic at the time or whatever. But once again, they're proving to one another like how much care they have because they've retained all of this information. They understand the hurts and they want to fix them. They want to make it better. Um, and I
Yes.
loved what you
And
said.
even I'm an introvert. I'm an introvert. Yeah. All this,
I feel
all
like
everything.
I feel like yeah, I feel like Kang is never getting away from that. I feel like Salom is just gonna trot that out like whenever he's like a little bit kind of pissed. Or whenever he just wants Kang to know that maybe he did the wrong thing, and like it's like a callback to the fact that, like remember that time I was a bit pissed off at you? Well, I'm a little bit pissed off at you right now. And I think I said something to this in one of our chats that we had during the week, that like I feel like he's over all of that, but there's probably a little bit of him that still gets a little bit pissed off if he thinks about it too hard. So like that's why he pulls it out, because he knows it's, because I love how you saw Kang once again. It's we're from the back, but you saw him just be like, "Yep, okay, well I kind of deserve that," and like you can tell he's smiling.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's like, "Well played, smarty pants boyfriend of mine." Um, he's like, "Yeah, I deserve that." I would love to Cass, if you're listening, I would love a fic where someone writes one where basically Ken gets to the point where he's like, are we not done with this yet? Like maybe they've been married 20 years and he's still bringing out the I'm an introvert thing. He's like, I'm pretty sure we could like move on from this, right? It's like, yeah, no, you're never living this down. Like it's yours. You have to own it. You earned it. It's always staying. It's always sticking. It's never going away. But yeah, and you're right. I love the bit where he was unbuttoning his shirt, and as I said, he stopped him. Kane just like backed the fuck right off and just like laid back down. But he didn't stop him because he was uncomfortable. He was just like, yeah, enough of this. Let me kiss you. And yeah, I loved everything about this. I thought they did such a good job of it, and I got really and the reason why I kept getting so angry when I was seeing all this crap online is because they did such a good job of this. This wasn't just, I think a lot of people just saw this scene as like this cute, like, sexy, whatever, extra fun moment, but like, and it was that, but okay, people also didn't think it was that sexy, but it's like, whatever. It was very, very cute, very romantic, very all this stuff was going on and you missed it.
I'm just happy that I found this series and I joined
Yeah,
it
same to you know what?
immensely. And I feel like it was made for me. I just consumed, like, I don't know, consume, not consume. I don't want to say consume because it's not like a product. It's just like it's art. It's like I'm
Yeah.
obsessed and I'm admiring every little thing. Like
Appreciative of it. Yeah.
exactly, like
I
it's life changing. It's another piece of art that is life changing. And look at us, we have a fucking podcast right now. It literally changed our lives. This is what
yeah, it
happened.
did. Yes, I feel like we should say thank you to everybody involved in the show, especially Perth and Chimon and their amazing chemistry. I can't wait to see what they're gonna do next. And as I said, we've got this, like, I guess, end of season catch up podcast coming up where we'll have Cass on, and more about that. If you want to find out more about that, you can head over to our Tumblr and our Twitter accounts at critically obs. Yeah, I feel like I need to let go of my frustration of like other people's opinions because, oh, I guess first off, I mean, the whole reason why we're doing this is because we're obsessed and we have opinions. I don't really need to know what other people's are. It sounds really negative, but no, I mean, I'm curious. That's why I reached out. That's why I've looked in things, and because I want to know these things. But at the same time, other people's opinions shouldn't affect mine. I have
Well,
seen.
sometimes it does happen that you have an opinion and then you realize that maybe your opinion does, like, comes from something that you should change about yourself.
Mm.
Sometimes it happens, but I feel
Oh.
like with this series, some people perceived it not in the way it was intended,
Mm.
because it required, just like not me, it required active thinking, active watching.
Mm.
It requires you to think. It doesn't
It
just give
wasn't
you
it
everything.
wasn't something just to be consumed.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I feel like, as I said, you're completely right. Look, I love other people. I love listening to other people's opinions, and I'm quite happy to be. I mean, I believe I've apologized to you a couple of times because you've proven me wrong, but I'm quite happy with that, but I'm that's not what I'm seeing. Like, that's not what I've seen online. So it's frustrating me, but I need to let it go because it's ruining my experience a little bit. And I've really, 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 really loved this. And as you said, we've gotten a lot out of it. We've met new people, like some of you lovely ones who have reached out to us. We're having fun. We're about to start like something new, which is like sad because we fucking love dangerous romance so much, but also it's kind of exciting. It's the unknown. Who knows what's going to happen? Maybe we'll get halfway through and go, oh my god, we hate this. Sorry everybody. We're moving on to something else. We just don't know what's going to happen. We're so excited, but we want this podcast to be about the things that make us like obsessive, like this has, where it has
I'm so
basically like
happy. I'm so
this
happy
this
that
this show this show has consumed us. We didn't consume it.
true.
Right. And so like like there's a couple episodes when you watch them, I feel like I've been chewed and then spat out like after I watched it because I was like it was I was so traumatized afterwards, but like I loved every second of it. I'm like, yes, hurt me some more, please.
Exactly the same.
But yeah, I just like, honestly, if you have I don't know why you would be listening, checking into our podcast at this point in time, but if you have not watched this show, you need to watch this show and watch it for what it is, not for like what everyone else is saying it should be. And I just, yeah, I really, really loved it. I think it's really good. I can't wait to see what Perth and Chimon are going to do next. I'm so excited for them as a coupling, and just even solo work. I'm like, I'm getting ready to devour that shit. Like, I feel like it's going to be brilliant, whatever they do. So, super excited about that.
Well, that was fun.
At least for us.
Thanks for spending your time with us.
Keep an eye out for our special guest Cass on our next upcoming last final podcast for Dangerous Romance. At least we think.
Goodbye for now.
Bye.